welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel, live from the Antonio Cromartie studio in part with Huggies, Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We've got a very special guest, which we're going to get to in just about 10 seconds. Yeah. It's week 9. We got our Wednesday update. There's been trades.
Yeah.
There's midseason, just general updates, vibes, what's going on around the league. Maybe we'll touch on some award stuff that we hate talking about halfway through the year. But there was big news yesterday. The New Orleans Saints officially benching Spencer Rattler, going with Tyler Shough, the rookie second-rounder out of Louisville. And who better to break it down than Nick Underhill, who's on the Saints beat, knows it all, has his own van where he reports directly from right outside practice. NewOrleans.Football. Nick, welcome to the show, and tell everybody where you're from, what you're doing, and promote all your stuff, man. Doing great.
Yeah, we just cover the one-win Saints. It's the most important thing in the world every single day, all day. Podcast channel, breaking it down, all the analysis, all the news. Not a lot of fun right now watching this team, but at least they're interesting. You know, that you have the new quarterback situation and then possibly the pursuit of the number one pick if they don't win the they kind of got the NIT tournament coming up here in the back half of the season, playing the Dolphins, the Titans, and the Jets for the number one pick. So it's kind of like relegation in the Premier League, I guess, in the back half of the season. So at least the Saints season isn't totally boring, but not a lot of good football being played right now.
Relegation 6-pointers. That's what they call it.
I love that. Since we preview every game, it's right around this time of year we're previewing those teams, the Saints, the Jets. We're like, well, Dante Moore's playing this weekend in a big, it's like, what should you watch? Maybe some of the college quarterbacks, which I do want to get to in a second. So Tyler Shough officially named the starter. Were you surprised at how this all went down? Like what went into this decision here for the Saints?
I'm not gonna lie, like it kind of shocked me how it happened. I wasn't expecting it to be like in the middle of a game. I thought it would be maybe a ramp up. Maybe we'd hear he took 15 snaps with the starters this week, and then going into the Panthers game, I thought maybe that was the date where we'd see it. He hasn't practiced with the starters the whole entire season, so it was just kind of like we need a spark, and they threw him out there, and I didn't expect it to play out like that, and especially because a lot of the stuff they've been doing this season hasn't been all in on just trying to get a win at all costs. Like Blake Grupe struggled making kicks, but they believe in him, so they've let him kick through it, even though he's missed kicks, I think, in 6 games now this season. And just kind of that ideal married with the idea of like, hey, just throw the quarterback in there for a spark. It surprised me, but I mean, once you do it, that's it. Like I wasn't surprised yesterday when the decision came out. It felt like once you make that move, you got to ride with it, because you're just going to make it a bigger mess if you try to go back and forth. You're going to create fractions in the locker room. I mean, there's Shough guys, there's Rattler guys, and like I think if you just fan those flames, like it just gets ugly. So they're here now. We're going to see how it goes. I think they had to find out. We just mentioned where they're at. They draft today. They're picking first. Like you have to know what you have in the building. But I was definitely surprised how it happened. And man, it was like that New England game hit, and it was, oh man, like, is there something here? Could he build on this? And then 2 weeks later, it's over that quick. I'm really surprised by the timeline on this.
Take us back to the preseason, training camp, all that kind of time. My read on that whole situation was, Tyler Shough drafted where he was. I think they kind of expected or wanted him to win that job. And then at no point in preseason and training camp did it look like that was really going to happen. They gave him every opportunity, and eventually they just went, okay, fine, we basically have to go with Rattler. And then Rattler actually played pretty well to start the season. And all of a sudden, we were having conversations about how, look, it's early, it's only a few games, but Rattler might make this an interesting discussion by the end of the season if he keeps playing this way. And then obviously he just internally did not have that kind of rope. They were like, the second he started playing badly, the rug got pulled out from under him, and we went with Shough. But is that an accurate read by your interpretation? Was this supposed to be Shough's job, and then, Rattler, the combination of Shough not earning it and Rattler playing pretty well kind of forced their hand?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, they drafted him at 40, and I felt like they were giving him every opportunity to win that job. That was their guy, their handpicked guy. Rattler was drafted by Dennis Allen. So definitely, I always felt like if it was there, like it was his job to take. I just don't think it got there in training camp. Like he kind of looked exactly like he looked in college. Like the highs were really high, like the arm's good. He's aggressive going downfield. He can move a little bit, but like there were the panic plays, and some of the mistakes, I hate to use the word goofy, but like he had like goofy mistakes, like the kind of stuff that, if there were cameras on it, like it ends up going viral, like that kind of stuff, just under pressure, flinging a ball to somebody, stuff like that. And you saw some of that in college too. I think you even saw some of that on Sunday. Like he's aggressive going down the field. It really felt like some air went into the balloon when he went into the game, and like the range of variances of outcomes just expanded, both good and bad. And it's like, okay, they were 1 for 25 on 3rd and long coming into that game, I believe. And like now suddenly on 3rd down, like you're getting shots down the field a little bit, and that gives you a chance to extend drives. But then like he's under pressure and it just looks like stuff gets sped up and he's like spinning out of it and flings a sidearm throw out. Like there's a throw that hit a guy in the back. So I think it's just kind of calming him down a little bit, but that's how it looked in camp. I expect, honestly, like over the next few games, I expect mistakes. Like they're playing the Rams this weekend. I don't expect that to be a great game. I think he's going to be someone that like you have to rein back in a little bit, where with Rattler, I think it was kind of like, all right, you're great from 0 to 10 yards. Like, how do you get that 15-yard throw? How do you manufacture an explosive? It's 3rd and 8. Like, how did the Saints get him to throw beyond the sticks? Like, those were the issues they were kind of having. It felt like really tight. And I think part of Rattler's approach to things is just kind of the history of like, he's at Oklahoma, he loses his job, he's here, they draft his replacement. I think he was kind of playing in a manner to where like he was squatting in the house and he was making sure like nobody could evict him. And when it came time to open it up a little bit, like things got a little bit messy. And as soon as it got messy, like they put him out of there. So yeah, I mean, I think in some sense, like there definitely probably was an itchiness to find out what you had with the guy that you went out, you scouted, you picked. And, from my reporting, I think they liked him better than all the quarterbacks except for Cam Ward.
So really quick, I mean, there was that play that Shough had his second to last season where he just kind of literally just panicked, threw it up under pressure. And Sam and I may have mentioned that play too much in the evaluation. It's like, look, there's a lot to like about Tyler Shough, but there's a few plays on film that are very concerning, the panic plays. Are you saying that those were showing up in training camp quite a bit as well?
I wouldn't say quite a bit, but I mean, there was probably like 3 or 4 of them, which I guess over a course of a month is, a pretty good amount. Definitely they were out there. And it was all cut from that same exact cloth. Like, yeah, the play, everybody knows the play. We've all seen the play. Like, and yeah, it was kind of the same thing. It's just like, man, this is happening. And then, okay, how do you correct this? They talk about it, and then it comes back, and like a week later, you see it again. I think that's just kind of going to be something that happens with him. And I think that's going to be what decides whether he's successful or not. Honestly, he's like, it's just that one piece, because I think he can go out there. I think he can play and he can be viable if you don't want to draft Fernando Mendoza. Like, if you can clean that up, maybe you have a guy there that you can ride with for a year and then maybe look at the next year of quarterbacks. But yeah, I think that's going to be a tough thing to get rid of. And there were a couple in this game, like, where it's like you're watching them and immediately you're thinking of the clips that you've seen from college that weren't good. And it's just like, you're going to ride the rails like this, huh? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the big thing with him going forward.
It was such a weird thing. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about it, but it's because it's such a confusing thing where you're right. He didn't have that many of them. It's just that the ones that he had were cartoon levels of ridiculous.
Yes.
And the question is, you're talking about kind of getting that. How do you get that out of somebody? Like the one play, the worst one of all of them, was so bad that I genuinely have time for an argument that on its own is disqualifying. Like, if you showed me this play on its own, and even if you told me he's got 3,000 snaps that are really good and then this one bad play, right? I would have time for an argument that somebody that is capable of that play simply cannot be an NFL quarterback at a high level. But on the flip side of that ledger is, I remember in a playoff game, Josh Allen, face first, falling over, trying to like backhand an offload to a tight end and just turning the ball straight over. And now Josh Allen's become, an MVP, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So clearly it's possible to change that kind of thing. Where do you stand on, like, is that something you can get out of him? Is that something that takes 3 years like it did with Josh Allen? Like, that's the tough decision with a guy like Shough.
I'm not like trying to be funny, or like it can't take 3 years. He's 26 years old. Like it kind of has to happen quickly. You got to see it soon. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I think seeing it in camp kind of made me a little bit worried. I saw it a couple times, and that was enough for me to sit there and be like, is this going to work? But just off of that. And there was a lot of good. Like, his arm is really good. He can run more than I think people probably realize. Like, he's big. Like, he's decent in the the pocket at times, except for the times when he just really isn't. And I don't know how you fix that really isn't part of it, but whatever it is, like, it has to happen almost immediately. And again, like, I think putting him into this game was kind of unfair. I thought he handled it pretty well considering. But like, you're down in a game against an aggressive pass rush and you're just throwing the guy into the pocket that panics in the pocket at times and saying, hey, throw the ball 35 times in 25 minutes of game action. Like, it just did not feel like the best laid plan. And then now rolling him out there for his first real start against the Rams and that pass rush, that doesn't feel like maybe the best way for him to get some success underneath him. Like, I would have done the Panthers game. Then you got the bye week to evaluate it. You come out of it, a bunch of cupcakes, and you got the Bucks again in the back half. Let him get some good tape, good feel going before that. I'm baffled by how this went down just because of that piece of it. Like, I think it's very important for him to build confidence in there and just feel that and then build off of that. But he's going to be under fire from day one. And look, I wonder, like, I do wonder how he's going to hold up, with Jared Verse coming at him this weekend, because it's going to happen. And they're down their center. And their offensive line, historically, they did okay last week with Fortner standing in there. They traded for him from Jacksonville. But historically, like, they've been really disorganized on the offensive line without Eric McCoy. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this thing holds up this weekend.
So do you believe, Shough, I mean, they spent pick 40, and you said, hey, they really liked him. This was their guy. I know you were one of the first. If we go back before draft time, a lot of people expected Shedeur Sanders to still go in the top 10. The Saints had pick number 9. I think you were pretty early reporting, hey, he's not going to the Saints at 9. And then pretty early kind of hinting at, was it Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough that they were both in on at 40? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, they liked them both, but I mean, everything I heard was that if they were both there, they were going to take Shough first is really how I heard it. And I heard that like way before the pick. That isn't like, oh, this is a guy they ended up with and they wanted him.
No, I remember you saying it.
Stuff. Yeah.
I remember whatever you could report on. I remember you hinting at it well before the draft, and that made me think like, okay, I know the Saints for sure are out on Shedeur Sanders. I didn't know the whole league was going to be, but I knew the Saints were based off everything you were reporting at the time.
Yeah, that was their guy. And like, he went in, they kind of had like a quiet meeting. I heard like the way the meeting went down is basically a lot of times when these guys come in, they meet with like everybody and they kind of go through the car wash and they try to reach like a consensus on the opinion. The way I heard this one went down is like, he basically came in, went into a room with Kellen Moore. They watched tape. He put him up on the board and it was just like those two locked in. Shough leaves and like, that was the guy. Like, I think they just really liked his maturity, the way he plays. And, the fact that he was like hurt throughout his college career and just battled adversity was something that they really liked too, because they felt like he could come in and maybe handle the ups and downs that come with like leading a team through a rebuild. But, obviously we got to see if the play warrants, that level of faith in it.
Over at NewOrleans.Football, I think you guys did some work on the top draft prospects. So, I mean, when you're covering the Saints, obviously you guys have to, at this point, with a one-win team, have an eye toward the draft. Any early feelings here? You've got Tyler Shough, probably, this is a half-year test. I don't know if they're absolutely – I mean, he's picked 40. Like, are they absolutely committed to him next year? And then a lot of the quarterbacks that were expected to go in the top 10 next year have not panned out. Any feel for the quarterback class at this time and how in the Saints are going to be as far as evaluating and then putting those quarterbacks up against what Shough's going to do here in the second half? Yeah,
I've been flying out every Saturday to like watch the college QBs and then flying back, on the red eye and then covering the Saints game on Sunday. Just because like it feels like that's where it's at, and these are the conversations we're going to be having, and I want to like make sure I'm actually putting eyes on these guys. I really like Fernando Mendoza. I really like Fernando Mendoza. Like he's the guy, if I were picking, like I would probably make my bet on him because like I just feel like even the offense they're running, like it's kind of very similar to the same exact stuff that Kellen Moore's doing. A lot of shotgun, a lot of RPOs. I think he just gives you the best package of like size, arm strength, enough running ability. And he just seems kind of put together. I like Dante Moore a lot, but like I was at that Oregon game and like the good on good matchup. I don't know if I just caught it on a bad day, but like it just like I wasn't blown away. It just kind of felt like a very punchless performance. There was some good stuff in it, but you know, he's obviously looked really good at other times. I went and watched Ty Simpson recently. I like him quite a bit. The processing seems good. It's just he's smaller, and if I'm like pick him first, I don't know. I guess maybe that's a little bit outdated in today's NFL too. Like you don't necessarily got to be Peyton Manning in the pocket, but you know, the size aspect of that. And I just want to see more. He's like got 8 college starts. You just got to see how it kind of builds for him over time. Today I say I take Mendoza, but like, you know, by the Big Ten SEC championship game time, maybe that flips a little bit. The person I really want to be good is Lenore Sellers. Like he looks like Superman out there, and it just feels like he needs to learn, like, you know, he might be have the best arm, but I don't know if he's like the best thrower. Like, and I think there's a difference between that. And you got to kind of figure out how to use your superpowers when hey, my legs are working, I'm just going to run down their throat. You know, I think he just kind of has to learn how to be like a football player more than just like a great athlete. And honestly, like if I were him, I stay in and I'm like trying to go to Miami and take Carson Beck's spot or go somewhere else because I think their offense is kind of a mess too. But, you know, I do think that they got to be looking. If they aren't looking, it's malpractice. Like if you're going to have a top 2-3 pick, which it seems like a lock at this point, and if you aren't evaluating, you know, Tyler Shough against Dante Moore and Mendoza and Simpson and all these guys, I don't really know like what the direction of your team is at that point, because it's not just, you know, this might be the chance to get a top 10 guy. And I think, look, let's say Shough ends up being the 18th best quarterback in the league. I think there's a massive difference between guy 10 and guy 18, or even, you know, guy 5 and guy 18. Guy 10's what, Jared Goff, and guy 18's Kyler Murray. Like, it's just it's a massive difference. And if you have a chance to upgrade that position, like you have to be taking it, you know, deadly seriously. So I would imagine they're in that market again this year if this doesn't look like it's going anywhere. And even if it is decent, like I still think you got to say, hey, like which way is better here? So yeah, I think they're definitely going to be looking.
Is there a chance that they kind of look at the way quarterbacks have gone the last couple of years in terms of these reclamation projects and say, actually, the best use of the first overall pick, if we end up with that, is trade down, take the haul, try and fix the team first, and then look for our Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Like, let's try and find our reclamation guy that can step into a good situation, as opposed to, yeah, we just upgraded quarterback, but the situation still isn't good enough for this guy to succeed right now, and we just do the same old dance that, you know, teams have been doing at the top of the draft for years.
Yeah, I think that's hugely possible. It's something that they've talked about. Kellen Moore's talked about quite a bit. Like he points to those guys all the time, and he's constantly pointing out how that's kind of the trend of the season, the trend of the league, and all that stuff. And you know, he's young, obviously, but he's like he's a modern thinker of the game. He talks about it, you know, much in the same way like when I listen to you guys. Like he just feels like somebody that grew up with all the stuff we grew up with, and kind of has that viewpoint on things. So definitely something that I think that they'll be looking at is well. I mean, that's definitely on the table. And yeah, look, they need everything. Like if we did an exercise right now and said like, one guy's doing it's an expansion draft and one person's protecting players and one person's drafting players like from the rest of the league. I don't know if you get to a Saint, like, you know, and I don't know if there's anyone that you'd be like, we have to protect this player, absolutely cannot lose him. It's just kind of where it's at. It's kind of hard to get to the position they're in right now too. Like they don't have star players. Their best player right now might be Chase Young. And outside of that, it's like, you know, Calvin Banks and Tali Fuaga who have shown promise, but, you know, in that expansion draft exercise, like you aren't getting to them. And going on from there, like I don't know who you'd take or who you'd protect, or, you know, even with the trade deadline, who's untouchable. I don't think they have a single player where you're like, oh no, they can't trade him. Like they all could go. So yeah, if there's a trade down scenario and you do like actually have the Daniel Jones type player there, definitely something that I think you have to consider because like you need everything across the board right now.
You're a pro, Nick. I was going to ask you about the trade deadline next, particularly the receiver names that have come up. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. We call him the great Rashid Shaheed, even if he's not having as dominant a season as he usually has. Who are you hearing? Who's on the market here? And do you think the Saints would part ways with one or both of those receivers, or do they need to be a part of this rebuild?
Yeah, I think they'd be willing to part with him if the compensation's right. Especially Shaheed, he's a free agent after this year. If you could, I don't know, lock in the fourth, like that's probably what they would get back in a comp pick if he were to leave. I think they would do it because then you can go out and you can spend your money. You aren't worried about protecting that asset. So I think they would definitely do it with him. Brandon Cooks is someone that I could definitely see getting traded too. You know, I don't even understand how he fits. Yeah, yeah. I think it'd be the fifth time. He just doesn't fit this team. Like they signed him when they had Derek Carr still, and then Carr retires, and it's just like okay, like Brandon Cooks is here. Why? And he just good player, good leadership. But I just don't think he fits what they're doing. I don't think you need three guys that are like the exact same body type of receiver. It'd be a tough trade to let Shaheed go for a fourth because for some weird reason they gave up a fourth for Tagovailoa, who has 39 yards I think in half a season. Very, very odd trade to make, but I don't think you can really let that influence like your return on your player, even because you screwed up this trade. But yeah, I think both those guys could go. Pete Werner's another one that I kind of got an eye on, the linebacker. They signed him to an extension last year, and they've just been trying to work in Danny Stutzman, their fifth-round pick this year, and Isaiah Stallbird, UDFA, they like a lot. Kind of been taking stops from Werner to get those guys on the field. So writing kind of seems to be on the wall there that they want to go another direction. And, I think Werner has some type of value probably to somebody in the league.
Last thing I wanted to ask about Mickey Loomis, general manager, and just the general team building strategy. Of course, the Saints, unique in how they've attacked everything in the last decade plus. They had Drew Brees. They went all in. They had fewer draft picks than everybody. They had a stretch of time where they had fewer draft picks but hit at a higher rate, which the nerds would say, well, that's not sustainable. You got to draft in volume. You can't always bank on your evaluations. They've slowed down in their hit rate in recent years when it comes to the draft. And then there was a point where it's like, all right, we don't have the veteran quarterback anymore. We're in rebuild mode. Are they really in rebuild mode? Still feels like they've been a little half in, half out, and they're not. Are they finally going to be at this point where it's like, we're going to draft 12 times over a 2-year stretch and really rebuild this thing? Or is there still like a little 1 foot in, 1 foot out when it comes to Mickey and the way they're handling things in the front office?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, I think people would probably be surprised to know that they got the same record as the Browns since 21. Like, so it really has not been. It really has not been going well. The last 8 drafts really have not went well. I don't think they've had a good draft since 17. Really, the only first round pick they've hit on since then is Olave, and he has injury issues, and he's kind of having a weird season right now. So that's even kind of the hit rate for where they picked him. I don't know if it's hit as hard as it should have, even though I think on any Sunday like he does look great sometimes, but. Yeah, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I think that's going to be determined with the draft because that's really where we see it. Like this penchant for just always moving up every single year. It looks to me like they're kind of into the rebuild right now. But again, it's a reluctant rebuild. Like they did not plan to get here. Derek Carr suddenly retires, has the injury, and then they're forced to move on. And look, they that kind of worked out for him the way it played out because you got to do the June 1st thing, and then he leaves, you get the money back. Like they had the luckiest cap management in the world with that situation. But like this was not a, hey, we're moving on from Derek Carr and getting younger. Like this was, oh, Derek Carr left and we had just signed Brandon Cooks and we had just signed Justin Reed. And like now it's kind of like this weird build of a roster, and it's the reluctant rebuild. But I think now that they're here, like they're forced to go into it. I think Tuesday is going to be interesting to see kind of what they do. Because I think you have to move a couple pieces and get a couple assets back, even if it's just like the Lattimore trade from last year where it's one thing and you get a couple picks. But look, the first move they made in this rebuild is sending a 4th and a 7th to Denver for Tagovailoa, which, 27 years old, 1 year with Sean Payton. Like they should know what Sean does with receivers. Like it kind of felt like, are they trading for Marquez Callaway? And it turns out like it's not even that right now. There's a half a season left. Maybe he has better chemistry with Shough. Maybe he gets going, but that felt like a weird move, at the beginning of it, which kind of, if you're looking for a, like, hey, one direction, one point of view, like going to do this the right way, that was one where I think you have a little bit of apprehension about the thought process behind some of this stuff. So the draft I think is going to be the big tell. And if they don't trade up for someone somewhere, it would probably be the biggest upset of all time because that's what they always do.
Somebody tie Mickey's hands, man.
Well,
Don't let them trade up this time.
Is there a world where Mickey Loomis is under any kind of pressure for his job? Because, for years the Saints had this approach of all in, max out the credit card. Let's try and get one last championship out of the Drew Brees era. Obviously that's gone now. As you said, there's been this sort of weird, they tried to do the competitive rebuild thing, or at least just let's stay pretty good with Derek Carr. Now they've been forced into a slightly different world, and that's potentially going to lead them to the number 1 overall pick. And nobody ever talks about, why a lot of other places the GM gets fired in that scenario. Is that on the table at all for the Saints, or is Mickey Loomis just there as part of the furniture?
It's just different than everywhere else in the NFL. It just operates. It just does. It's just different than anywhere in the league. I would have to say no. I don't see it. But I also, it's hard to sit here and ponder a reality where this doesn't work and this coaching staff doesn't work and you're still doing it the same exact way. I think what would have to happen, if there were ever to be a move, is I think it would probably have to be reflected in the stands. And when it becomes a business decision over just a pure football thing, I think that's where it would happen. But the one thing I would point out is that Gail Benson is the one who forced the firing of Dennis Allen last year. Had to tell them, hey, look, this is happening. You're going to do it. Nobody else in the building wanted to do it. And it happened that way. So I can't say it's completely impossible because we know, at least in a certain situation, that the owner will move. But it's weird. And it makes it very, very hard to cover because it's just not a normal situation. The normal storylines, the normal timetables of the 31 other teams, it just isn't that way here. And, I don't know how you can have the last 8 years and it's literally all the same exact people. It's not a normal front office. It's not a normal ownership group. It just works differently here. And I'm trying to figure it out myself. I don't understand it all the time either. There's just things that happen where you're man, is this all right? And it's just the same thing. It just keeps going.
I was about to plug you as no one is as plugged in as Nick.
Well, look, nobody knows
in
anything,
New Orleans. He's I don't know what I'm doing here.
Else. Yeah.
You're as plugged in as anyone, though.
He's the least confused person that covers the Saints. Let's put it.
Look, it just is though. It's just all the time I see these lists Saints GM on the hot seat. It's no, he isn't. It just I don't think that seat can get hot. It's just different than other places. But yeah, look, I think he has to hit on this one, or it's just what are you doing here? You can't have another failed regime and it just kind of keeps going as it's going.
Well, Nick, we appreciate the time. Be sure to check out Nick Underhill and all his work at NewOrleans.Football. You're doing a great job there. Keep it up. And, yeah, man, we'll do it again sometime. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much, Nick.
Been wanting to have Nick on for a while here.
Yeah, he's great.
There's a couple people like Matthew Collar, who we have, who covers the Vikings, a couple people who went independent and went out on their own and have done a great job. And we can relate to those going out on their own.
Oh, absolutely. Huge respect for what he's doing as an independent, you called him at one point.
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame. Just out here,
No
going toe-to-toe with the big boys, but on his own in a fan.
Yeah.
Awesome what he's doing. Him, Matthew Collar, all those guys that have decided to be, as you said, independent beat writers. Huge amount of respect for those guys. It occurred to me at the end there, talking about Mickey Loomis and his untouchable position no matter what he does wrong. Sounds a lot like somebody else we used to know.
Wow. Look at
No matter what he screws up, he's still in the job, No. There's just no way getting rid of him.
What would we do without him? What would we do? I don't know.
What would it take to get him out of the building? Maybe somebody could unearth some Slack conversations.
Could you picture a world where every decision that is made is good rather than bad?
Mickey Loomis eventually gets taken down by Slack receipts from the internal Saints gig.
Oh, wow. The chains are off. I love it. The shackles.
Well, legally we're allowed to now.
Quick break to talk about today's sponsor, IM8. I got my drink right here.
You do?
Look at this. Got my water bottle, got the drink. I just got the care package. I'm all in. It's hard to keep up with every NFL game. We lose track of sleep. We'll get an hour back this week. We go live every 7 a.m. every Monday. It's hard to keep the energy levels up. But, man, tried some yesterday. Didn't even need my evening coffee.
Now, what is it? My care package has arrived. I have yet to sample. What are we talking about here?
We've got, the daily ultimate essentials. IM8's Daily Ultimate Essentials. So it's a all-in-one wellness drink here, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't expecting the pick-me-up. I didn't know that it was going to be that good. But I was like extra focused, hanging out with the kids, watching the World Series last night. And it was great.
Superfan Mohall in the chat would like to know what it tastes like. What are we talking about?
It's there's a acai berry and like a hint of chocolate in there.
Okay.
Mix it with water, and it's good. It's good. It tastes
Nice.
good. I enjoyed it. So I'll be sipping on it throughout the show here. Might be a regular. So daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. It's been co-founded by David Beckham. The care package had a special note from David to us. Crafted with insight from experts from Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and former NASA chief scientist. So it simplifies your wellness routine, makes it easier to support your health. The drink's loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and is designed to help you feel good from the inside out. So like when I drink something and you tell me there's 92 nutrient, look at this.
I mean, that's a lot of things. Yeah.
I could feel the nutrients flowing through my veins. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. So they use effective ingredients backed up by research, and it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic, and 85% said their digestion improved. I think I'd be in those percentages there. It's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO. It's NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. You can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So feel your best every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. Now, I got a lot of sachets. My wife's trying to steal a bunch of them. And she said sachets when she first read it and then corrected herself, much like me.
I speculated when you told me that maybe you and Kelly are more of you're more scoop people than sachets.
We're used to having scoops, but they sent sachets and I'm in. It's fine, as long as I say it right. So it's IM8, the number 8, HEALTH.com/CTM. IM8health.com/CTM. Code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets plus 10% off your order. IM8health.com/CTM. The code is CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. I'll be sipping it throughout the show. All right. I'll have extra focus, laser focus here.
Laser.
As we get to our Shouty Shows.
I've thought about it very deeply.
I liked how he started it with, I've thought about this long and hard.
I trust the backup quarterback more than I do Dak.
This is why Skip Bayless is the master of the Shouty Show segment.
I can't do it anymore. It is year 6.
It's just a never-ending arms race of idiocy between loud, obnoxious people. We are the antidote to that.
All right, always having fun. Oh, no, this is the first one.
What do we got?
Oh, man. I didn't even click on this one when it came across the timeline.
Cue it up.
We have a response to Damian Woody saying that Drake May is the best deep ball thrower in the NFL.
Okay.
Carr, you're a liar. You are a liar. And I'm going to tell you why. You just said, you fixed your lips to say, you allowed this to come out of your mouth. You even thought this first to say, he's the best deep ball thrower in the NFL.
The numbers bear it out.
This is what hold on. I can talk now. Stephen Anthony, as the executive producer and a very high decision maker of First Take as a whole. Maria Josetta, just step aside real quick, sweetie pie, because this has nothing to do with you. Stephen Anthony, you keep allowing people to come on this show and to have diarrhea at the mouth by just saying certain things that are just not true.
All right, fade it out.
You're a liar.
We're done
You're
with
a
this.
liar.
Does he get to a point?
No.
Does Cam
that's the
Newton
thing.
ever get to a point?
That's the thing. What we got here is
He's a former player. He's an MVP. You got to respect him.
No, you
Sam.
don't. Cam Newton is a Temu version of Stephen A. Smith dressed like a cartoon cat. Like we got whatever that was, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. He'd yet to say anything. He was just like, I've seen Stephen A. go to work, and what he does is he speaks big. There's shouting. We vary the cadence. We bounce up and down. We don't actually say anything because nobody wants that. It's a pantomime. So, well, how do you make a pantomime? What's an important part of pantomime, Steve? I mean, obviously there's the dialogue, the show, but there's also dressing up like an idiot, right? That's a part of being a pantomime. is you have the giant costumes, you're on the stage. That's part of it. So Cam, giant costume, do the Stephen A. Smith voice. Job done. Shouty show. You don't actually have to say anything of substance.
Stephen A. gets to points, though, at some point.
Yeah, eventually. But
Stephen A. gets to a point.
Cam has decided that's like an ancillary part of the job. You don't need the
end of
point.
Stephen A.'s rant, even though the logic may not be there, it at least gets somewhere.
Yeah. Where Cam has decided that's an irrelevant part of the
I want to
game.
know what he even...
No, you don't need to know what
did
said.
he even get to?
Doesn't matter. No.
What did he even get to?
Doesn't matter. Don't need it.
If there's one thing we learned from Chris, who's pretty good color commentator.
Yeah.
Collinsworth.
If you take 60 seconds to get to your point, nobody cares.
It was like, dude, you've got, especially on like, as a color guy, you've got 7 seconds to make a point. And look, we didn't take all that to heart. We do 3-hour shows. But we know in TV situations, when we're on TV, it's not a podcast any longer, right? We can't sit there and be like, oh, let's go talk about the history of Baker Mayfield.
Right.
We know you got to get to the point a little bit quicker.
Well, usually, I mean, okay, we might go on diversions that eventually take you to a 10-minute discussion about Baker Mayfield, but usually the point was fairly clear up front, and then we'll start talking about the 10-minute meander through something else is usually in support of a point that we've already made. It's not like we're just going to talk for 10 minutes and then eventually you might hear something that's a point later in the show, which is Cam Newton's approach.
That was awful.
Yeah.
Bad television.
Bad everything.
Bad everything.
Except pantomime. Good
generally,
pantomime, bad everything else.
I generally don't agree with most things that Cam Newton... anything that goes out there... I don't watch Cam Newton. Anything that goes out there, I generally disagree with.
This is more of a... Like Christmas pantomimes are like a British thing rather than American, right? But like the classic, oh, no, he didn't. Cam's like expecting somebody to the crowd to chant along with him, only everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? Just make a point.
Jeez. This was bad. This was so bad.
Yeah. Next.
That's it. You're just done with it? There's
absolutely done with that one.
All right. Well, next is going to be an overreaction to the Broncos-Cowboys game.
Bo was wishy-washy. Is this going to be his game?
I'm wishy-washy in Bo. He the best. He the best quarterback of his class. He dominate his class.
Whoa.
All them boys.
Okay.
Look at the numbers. Drake
Okay.
May, Caleb Williams. Look at the numbers. Bo dominate them boys in his class. So ain't no wishy-washy. All he did was get to the league, take his team to the playoffs, and now his team looking like one of the best teams in the AFC.
Jaden was in the NFC Championship last year. Just want to let you know that.
Well, I'm just saying. That's good.
Yep.
Where is he now? He's sophomore slumping.
No, he had his little hamstring.
He's got
injuries. He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Injuries is part of sophomore slumping. Where's Bo? Bo's available. Bo's starting every game.
Mm-hmm.
Bo take care of his body in the offseason, so that's why he's available. You know what I'm saying?
Injuries happen, you know that.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. To guys who
But
don't
you're
take
not
care
taking
of their body.
you're not taking Bo over Jaden Daniels. You're not.
And I'm taking
You're not.
Bo. Let's look at the numbers. I'm taking the guy who got the best numbers out of his draft class. And who is that?
Jaden.
No, it's not.
Jaden.
Last year. Look at the numbers of him.
Jaden.
Yeah, let's play the quarterback.
Bo got
he has
more
more
everything,
touchdowns.
bro.
Yeah,
Bo got more everything.
Yeah.
Every number. I'm taking Bo.
What? So, okay.
Aqib Talib, if you're listening.
Yeah. Now,
Bo Nix is the best in his class.
This is a very good example of the kind of archaic way of thinking that people used to approach quarterbacks with, which is, I want a guy who's won the most and has the best quote-unquote numbers. I was curious, what numbers do you think he's talking about when he says Bo Nix has the best?
So,
because I can't actually find a number where he's the best this year.
The numbers that are floating around a lot. I want to be careful with this Bo Nix conversation here, because there's a lot of Bo Leavers out there.
Sure.
And
I'm not for a minute. So
here are the numbers.
Bo Nix may well be a very good quarterback. I can't at the moment find an argument that would have him above both
touchdown passes. Touchdowns.
Level with Drake May.
So here's what.
So I can't find a number. I can't find an argument that would make him both the best over Jaden Daniels and Drake May. I can get one or the other. I can't get both.
The certainly not any kind of efficiency number this year is going to have him anywhere close to Drake May.
Right. And they're tied in touchdown passes. And
so the
Drake
touchdown
May has
pass
fewer
thing,
interceptions.
This actually reminds me of Cam Newton a little bit and some of the records that he set.
And Drake May has more yards.
Bo Nix is on a ton of lists for most touchdown passes through X number of starts and what have you, or through two seasons.
Career touchdown passes.
Yeah, and I always go back to, and it's like, well, you got to do this for every quarterback. Like he had a 4 touchdown game against Kansas City Chiefs backups last year.
Yeah.
And that one game helped him land on a lot of these lists. It's just true. Like, at the end of last season, there were let me finish. There were Broncos fans putting him, like, he was not better than Jaden Daniels last year. He was not. Given all the circumstances, how good the Broncos defense was, and just week-to-week consistency, he was not as good as Jaden Daniels. But once you threw, like, he had like 29 touchdown passes or whatever last year, and 4 came against the Kansas City backups when they dominated that game and threw a shutout. And it put him on all these lists, like most rookie touchdown passes, most this, most that, and it's like the one stat. And now you're combining it with this year, and he's doing a lot of good things.
I mean, you're giving this all together too much credence.
That's where it's coming from. I'm just saying that's where it's coming from. And I really believe we're in a world where there's so many people reporting on stuff and using numbers now more than ever before. You can create whichever narrative you want if you find the right numbers. So if you just want to look at touchdown passes, Bo Nix is the best. And if you want to, hey, Bo Nix, like, he was better than Drake May last year. But now we've seen Drake May in a much better situation with New England. And, yeah, they've had an easy schedule, but clearly Drake May's playing better football than Bo Nix.
Right.
And I would say Jaden Daniels played better football than Bo Nix last year. And just he has been hurt. Maybe doesn't take care of his body, as Aqib said. Anyway, that's where it's coming from. Now, go ahead.
My point is simply, if you need to spend 5 minutes trying to work out what the numbers, quote unquote, is that he's the best at.
No one is, though. People are just throwing touchdowns out there, and I'm the one that's adding context. It's like, well, you got to take away 4 in this preseason game that they played against the Chiefs.
Not only that, but you've had to explain to me what numbers he's the best at. Because in no numbers this year is he the best, right? They're tied in touchdown passes, but Drake May has both fewer interceptions and fewer attempts and completions to get that touchdown number. So you can't really find a number where he's the best this year, just this year, isolation. Last year, Jaden Daniels was quite clearly the best of the rookie quarterbacks over any kind of serious sample size. Like, you could argue, in a couple of starts, Michael Penix was at that level. But over the season, Jaden Daniels was quite patently the best of those quarterbacks. Like, no argument. I don't care what number you want to bring up. Like, everyone saw that. Everyone knew the same thing.
We all saw Jaden Daniels as the second best offensive rookie last year, Sam.
So that's not the discussion. And then this year, Drake May is clearly the best of these quarterbacks so far. And so the only possible way you can make the argument that Bo Nix is the best of this group is if you combine both seasons and find one random number and say, well, touchdowns is the most over 2 years.
I bet you could take completion percentage and touchdowns, and he'd be the guy.
I don't even know if you could do completion percentage.
Isn't it high?
It's probably high.
I don't look at
Drake May's averaging like 80% or whatever this year.
But I'm saying when you could buy in last year.
Right, but I mean, anyway, the point is, if you have to go that
low
deep,
sack rate, there's a lot to like about Bo Nix's game.
Yeah, but again, if you have to go that deep into just to try and find what he's saying, it's going to take me 5 minutes of dismissing numbers to get to the ones that still exist in his favor. Because most usual numbers that you're debating or analyzing quarterback debates with, he's not the first in any way. Certainly not this year. Probably not even if you're combining 2 years. So it's a ridiculous argument.
And this is where we fall back into the former players who played for a team just being skewed toward that team, and I think that just makes the analysis worse.
Well, it's even worse than that.
It's like,
because
I played for the Broncos, so I'm saying Bo Nix.
You've got dinosaur way of thinking, which is, well, he wins a lot, and there's some numbers that I like, and then you've got, but he knows that at this point you're supposed to use numbers, right? You can't just say I think he's the best because nobody cares. You got to use a data point to back it up. So, well, let's just say the numbers.
The numbers say it.
The numbers. If you look at the numbers, he's the best as well. Only if you do actually look at the numbers, he isn't in any way, shape, or form.
You can look at whatever numbers you want to make your point. All right, we got one more. What do we have? It's a reaction to Myles Garrett press conference after his 5-sack game.
Throw the whole performance away for a win.
I want you to explain it to me as if I was
But I want you to tell me what was Myles Garrett thinking was going to happen based on everything that has happened since he's been there.
Myles Garrett understood there is no more guaranteed money on my contract. I'm going to throw a fit in wanting to get out, to force their hand, understanding there is no one else that can pull this off outside of me.
I think Myles Garrett is an outstanding football player, but at this point, I don't feel sorry for him. I can't. This is what you signed up for, Ocho. Ocho, you remember back in the day, Ocho, the military, Uncle Sam looking for a few good men. Back then, you go train a little bit. Now, you sign up for the military, you going to fight.
Oh, yeah.
You got all this stuff going on around the world, you going.
Hey, everywhere.
As much as I want to, I don't feel empathy. I don't feel compassion for Myles because this is what he signed up for. Okay, now that you got your money, go ahead and ask for a trade. Try to go somewhere, bro, that you can win. It doesn't matter what he does. You're not any closer to your ultimate goal with Myles Garrett than you would be without him. So I might as well get pieces that I believe that's going to help me get closer.
I like this clip. I've got some time for Shannon Sharpe as a Shouty Show exponent because, you know, there's a point there. And a lot of people will make this point. And he is good at making them. He's like, you know, he's got that showman element to his way of speaking. I don't agree with him though. Like I think you can make both. I think both things can be true at the same time. Yes, Myles Garrett was aware when he did what he did in the offseason to get the new contract, and when he signed the new contract, that I'm signing this contract with the Browns that have been fairly consistently unable to put a team around me while I've been there. Why would it be different this time? That's a reasonable point. It's also, I think, fair to say that, you know, just because he's taken an unprecedented amount of money for a defensive lineman to sign a new contract and stay in the building, that he can still be annoyed by how it's going. Like, he can still be justifiably upset that they're not doing better. He's not like, his contract is not hamstringing them to the point where it's inevitable that they're bad, right? There's no way they could be good because they've given you this money. He can, I think, reasonably and justifiably be annoyed that even though I have signed this contract and have stayed here, you guys are still screwing up.
The interesting thing about the Garrett thing, by the way, I love that you are honoring the craft when it comes to Shannon. You're like, hey, I don't disagree with the point, but the delivery, the substance, the point, I mean, it's a whole different, completely different league as Cam Newton.
Oh, yeah. Well, Shannon, this is a natural versus an imitator. Shannon, he's just good at this. Like and has been for his entire life. You go back and watch those, whenever that Baltimore Ravens Hard Knocks was.
It was like the very first Hard Knocks.
Early
he became a
2000s.
star. Tony Siragusa.
Yeah.
Those guys, like 01.
Yeah, like something. Really early 2000s.
They became stars that year.
Right. And Shannon Sharpe, just the video of him, you know, in the Ravens meeting rooms, et cetera. I mean, the dude was always a showman. Like, this is what he's like. So it makes sense that you put him on TV, and he's a natural at it. Like
he was doing Dow Jones commercials with Jason Sehorn in the late 90s.
He's good at this stuff. Now, that doesn't mean what he's saying is sensible, but it means he's good at saying it.
Oh, you're the best. What was my point? Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, Myles Garrett could have optimism that they're going to get better.
It doesn't even need to have optimism. It's just I don't think it's a fair point to say that just because Myles Garrett knew that this was likely, that he's no longer allowed to be upset by it.
You and I are sometimes we try to attack things a little bit more logically, and I think logically the Browns looked like they were in. I know they've been rebuilding for years now.
Yes.
But very specifically now, they made a move to go for it. It failed with Watson. It failed miserably on two fronts, financials and draft picks.
Right.
They're in a reset. Again, it's the inevitability of where they are.
What I will say this year specifically is that this year was almost certainly always going to suck.
This year had to. It had to.
So if you're Myles Garrett, like, I think it's reasonable to still be upset even though you signed the contract. It's maybe not reasonable to be like, well, this is totally unexpected. It's like, I mean, dude, Joe Flacco is our starting quarterback to start the season with two rookies behind him. How did you think this was going to go?
That was the point I was going to bring up. When they were talking to Garrett around the time that he signed, he's like, we have a plan at quarterback.
Yeah.
And we're all like, what's the plan? What's the plan? They eventually signed Joe Flacco. And we tend to look down on Flacco as not an NFL player or a quarterback, but as like a solution, right? An answer. But we probably did the same thing for Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Like, we at least proceeded with caution, right? at best. Does the NFL, the same way Mike Tomlin's like, oh, Joe Flacco, I'm afraid of that guy. Do you think Myles Garrett was like, man, we're going to sign Flacco. We're going to be all right. Flacco's going to be the guy. We just made the play. Like this is how NFL players think. You and I look at the 2023 season when the Browns made the playoffs and Joe Flacco came off the couch, Justin Pugh style, and led them to the playoffs. And you and I are like, that wouldn't happen again. Had some luck. They had a good defense that year, and they got lucky, and then they got smoked in the playoffs, and that was the right outcome in the wild card round. There was probably something in Myles Garrett's head being like, that's all we were missing last year. Flacco worked for us in 23. We didn't have him last year. We had Watson, and we had DTR, and we had all these different starters roll through. Jameis. If we just had Flacco again, we're going to be okay. I bet that was like a legitimate line of reasoning for Myles Garrett coming into this year, where you and I are like, they don't have the money to spend. They haven't had high draft picks the last 3 years. Next year's the year they can get back on track and show some optimism. Garrett was probably like, we got Flacco. I know what we can do on defense. It's going to be 2023 all over again. We're a 10-win team.
Yeah, look, I said the reason Flacco was going to win that job as the starter, because that was up in the air when they signed him. Like, the reason he was going to win the job of the four-way quarterback battle in offseason, preseason, whatever, is because he's the easiest sell to the veteran players, right? He looks like an NFL quarterback, and somewhere there, they are imagining what's happening with the Bengals right now, right? Like, the few games of Flacco that's looked really good. They have that in their head. Between that and when he got off the couch and put a team to the playoffs. Like, that's what they're picturing. We get a whole season of that. We can do that. That works. That's why Flacco was always going to start the season as the quarterback. But ultimately, the chances of that actually working for the Browns was minimal, always. I also don't think, by the way, like, somewhere in there is a suggestion that Myles Garrett should have basically forced his way out of the Browns. Like, you knew what the Browns are about. Even don't let your eyes be turned by the $40 million. You did the right thing by agitating for a trade. Now follow through and get out of there, right? I mean, all right, but if you try and play real hard ball and the team doesn't want to budge, you're going to end up like Trey Hendrickson and you're still back with the team and you don't have the money, right? Myles Garrett got $40 million a year, was an unprecedented movement of the defensive line salary mark. Like, he's got way better deal than anybody else up until Micah Parsons got his gig. But, I mean, the classic comparison of TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles Garrett's on a lot more money than TJ Watt right now for, let's say, similar careers up until that point. I would argue that once they showed up with that amount of money, he did the right thing to take that deal and, okay, let's hope that they get their shit together at that point. I don't think it's particularly reasonable to say he should have made it. He should have got his way out of there. And I don't even know if he, maybe when he demanded the trade, he was serious about it, or maybe that was simply a way of getting the $40 million a year. Either way, I think it was successful. And I don't think you can really argue, if he didn't want to lose, he should have forced his way out of there and gone played for somewhere else.
All right, that's our Shouty Shows for today. Always enjoy the Shouty Shows every week. Quick break to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. NBA's back. FanDuel is your home for live betting. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. So however you want to play, now's the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com/33rd. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Today we're talking about Thursday Night Football. It's the Ravens and Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa, over-unders 219.5 passing yards for Tua coming off his best game of the season. 219. Feels low, Sam. Feels low. Going up against this Ravens defense. But is the Ravens defense, have they turned a corner now?
Right, what is the Ravens defense? That's the confusion.
Kyle Hamilton's playing in and around the line of scrimmage. against this Dolphins team. Kyle, you could see him blitzing. You see what he does. I know it worked in reverse last year. Kyle Hamilton moved away from the line of scrimmage and they got better, but I love him in and around the line, and I think that's going to be a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, I mean, for the season, the Ravens' pass defense is one of the worst in the NFL. They're coughing up 250 passing yards a game. They're giving up 6.7 yards per play allowed in the pass game, which is one of the worst in the league. This is a defense that has been passed on consistently all the way through the season. However, last week, the defense looked better. You got, signs of life from guys like Mike Green. You got Kyle Hamilton looking great. You got Marlon Humphrey making plays, Roquan Smith back. It's probably a different unit than it's been for most of this year, but how different?
So then you have Lamar Jackson coming back for the Ravens. So this is where I'm leaning over again for like the 10th straight week. Convince myself
well,
it's
that can
the
work
over.
two different ways, right? On the one hand, it might give them a lead and give them a good game script situation for a passing attack from Miami, right? They're going to have to pass
That's
a lot.
what I'm thinking.
On the other hand, they might also execute a series of slow, game-chewing drives on offense where they run the ball a lot and keep the ball, and that diminishes the amount of time.
The Ravens should be able to run like crazy. I know I said that last week, and you never know when a team's just going to step up and stop the run. I think Miami might struggle to stop the run, but I'll take the over because I'm going to go game flow situation. Tua is going to be they'll be down 2 scores
for most of the game.
He'll be thrown. This is I believe it was against Baltimore with the great Robert Hunt play on Thursday Night Football as well.
The great play that wasn't.
Yes.
One of
so
the
you never know when
greatest
Tua's going to
injustices in NFL history.
If Tua could, set up a screen to a guard, that could put him over the top here. So 219.5. I'll take the over. What's your ultimate pick here?
I'm going to go under.
All right, you're taking the under. It's over at FanDuel.com. Go check it out, FanDuel.com/CTM. All right, it's time for the Wednesday update.
No, it's not.
It's not?
At least not with the video. The video got deleted, apparently.
Oh, I didn't get that note.
But it is time for it.
Wednesday update from the Cincinnati Bugler.
I'll put on hat.
Anyway. Trades have been made,
now
Sam.
It's time for the Wednesday update,
Here
brought to you by the Cincinnati Bugler.
Look at us at the Bugler.
Perfect.
Let me have a little sip of IM8. Trades were made the last few days here.
Yeah.
Trade deadline's next week. There's a note here in our notes here that Jerry Jones has not ruled out a trade.
Why would he?
So that's good.
I mean, even if he had no intention of making a trade, he wouldn't rule out a trade because that's headlines.
He should try to flip a couple firsts from Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Now, that would be genius if they could get Parsons back and the signing bonus is already paid for.
Somebody else did the contract for them. They didn't have to work it out. They just traded him.
Bring him right back.
Yeah. Smart.
Is that even legal?
No.
The Los Angeles Rams traded for Titans cornerback Roger McCreary. Titans received a conditional 5th-round pick. I believe there was a pick swap in there as well. So the Rams got a 6th-round conditional. For those who are unaware, this is far more commonplace. Back in the day, you'd trade a player for a 6 or a 5.
Now it's the pick swap.
Now it's pick swap, 5 and a 6. Both teams, your teams around the league, no one wants to roll into the draft with 4 picks.
Yeah.
The thing that we say all the time, except the Saints.
To their credit, this is being borne out as it's an aphorism that the NFL has accepted as truth, right? You don't want to be picking less often in the draft. Yeah. Therefore, every trade that used to be, let's just flip these low rounders for players, are now, let's instead exchange. Let's move up or down in the draft for a player.
So now, the Titans have now traded Jarvis Brownlee and Roger McCreary. I had a feeling the Titans would be
sellers.
Sellers. Not these types of players, though. These are younger players that might even have a future. McCreary's been a solid nickel corner throughout his career.
Old regime, though, right?
Old regime, but you'd have to pay him. And then for the Rams, if there's a weakness on the Rams defense, you would say you'd take cornerback and some of their depth. McCreary has played mostly nickel. I don't think he's out of place if you have to put him on the outside. So I think he brings some versatility.
It's not up in the size thing for the Rams corners, though. Like, it's an incredibly undersized cornerback group, and they've just added a slightly undersized corner to that.
But they've obviously done a nice job defensively with what they have, and they create a lot of havoc and pressure up front, take some pressure off those corners. But they have Darius Williams, Kobe Durant, add McCreary to that mix. Maybe he steals some outside snaps from Emmanuel Forbes as well. He's undersized in a whole different way. But yeah, I like the addition. He's a good player for the Rams. And for the Titans, now they have 3 sixth-round picks. We knew they'd be trying to stock up on draft picks. I thought it would be more of the Arden Keys of the world that might be on the market, and they might be. But, yeah, they've traded McCreary and then Jarvis Brownlee so far this year.
Yeah, I think this was one that kind of makes sense for both sides. It's not the most exciting trade in the world, but I do think it's logical from either perspective.
Speaking of unexciting trades,
beautiful.
The other two. New England Patriots made 2 trades yesterday.
One of these excites me a bit.
They're both interesting. Kyle Duggar, the safety, has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they're without Deshaun Elliott at safety, and they need him for this year.
You already have the most expensive defense in the NFL. Why not add another guy to it?
Duggar, it seemed like he's had a strange season for New England. So they've got Mike Vrabel obviously coming in this year. There was a point in Duggar he was signed for a lot of money from the previous regime. I thought that was questionable at the time because he's limited in coverage in man or zone, especially zone. He's very good in and around the line of scrimmage as far as stopping the run. So he's like your classic old school box safety. You got paid a lot of money. Patriots are going to pick up the rest of his contract, so it's kind of a freebie for the Steelers this year. And then they voided the rest of his contract, so he'll be a free agent. But the Steelers needed to fill a need. They have a box safety. Duggar had everyone in New England thought he was going to get traded during training camp. And then all of a sudden he starts the season and he's playing a little bit. But they've already tried to get younger at safety anyway, so he was odd man out. But for Pittsburgh, fills a hole with Deshaun Elliott going down.
Yeah, like you said, so Rap Sheet had details on the contract. The Patriots are paying most of the $5.4 million that's left in Kyle Duggar's original base of almost $10 million, plus the roster bonus to complete the deal. The final 2 years have been wiped out, so the Steelers are getting him for not much money at all. He is under 30, which is, a useful element for them. But, Duggar is a guy that's always been more potential than productivity, I believe.
What he can do, potentially, is cover tight ends. And the Steelers have been awful covering tight ends. And as they dabble in a little bit more man coverage, if he's the one manning up rather than the 2 linebackers going like this, maybe, I don't know who's coming. I don't know.
Maybe the solution to the 2 linebackers shouting at each other for which one blew the assignment is to just give it to Kyle Duggar instead.
So I think that it could be a good fit there for Pittsburgh. The other one, the one that I know that you're more interested in, Keon White.
Yeah.
The edge rusher for New England who moves around the defensive front, gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers. And he's a guy that got phased out a little bit in New England, had a really good season last year, and just in limited time this year had been benched, had been sitting, not a part of the rotation, not creating pressure. PFF win rate was like 3%, something really, really low and awful. And some weird plays in the run game. But the Niners, who need pass rush help, get a guy that's at least done it before, even if he's not doing it this year.
Yeah, I mean, from New England's perspective, they're getting rid of a couple of guys that Mike Vrabel clearly didn't like, right? Or not personally, but as players. Vrabel clearly did not have a ton of time for the potential of Kyle Duggar and Keon White, and so they had already been phased out within the New England defense, and they're just cashing in on them. Tom Pelissero says the Patriots now own 10 picks in the 2026 draft, all in the first 6 rounds, and also the 7th-round conditional pick for San Francisco for Keon White. He needs to be active for 7 games for that to even kick in. So potentially they could own 11 picks in the draft.
Wow.
This is a team looking to draft a lot next year. The Keon White thing, I think, is intriguing because on the one hand, as you said, improbably unproductive this year. Like absurdly small pass rush win rate for a guy with his physical tools. Anyone sort of casting their mind back for what he was as a draft prospect, this like monstrous, powerful, athletic, huge defensive lineman whose tape sort of suggested that he had no earthly idea what he was really doing, right? He was just this like manic bull in a china shop type of defensive lineman where a lot of his plays in college were just winning through being bigger, stronger, more athletic. And you're like, man, if they just teach him to like what he's doing, he could be really productive. And
especially he was a converted tight end too. So
he was like young to the position.
Right. Older player, but young at the position.
And you're like going to New England where they still had Belichick, at the time, you're like, theoretically, that's a mouth-watering landing spot for him. And it kind of worked. I mean, he was moving in the right direction up until Vrabel comes in and decides he's not actually that good and sort of reduces his role, which then coincides with him basically being not productive whatsoever. From the 49ers perspective, I mean, we said, look, they don't have any talent really on the defensive line right now. It's all young, it's all rookies because Nick Bosa got hurt. It was already Nick Bosa and friends. They need somebody. And, you know, we had been connecting them with guys like Jalen Phillips from Miami. And look, if you want immediate impact, I would imagine a guy like Jalen Phillips is a much more attractive option. Maybe they called, maybe Miami said no thanks. Keon White's an intriguing body, though, to add to that. I mean, Robert Saleh has done a lot of very good work with defensive linemen in the past. He's maximized the impact of some guys that he's had on the roster, both with the Jets and with the 49ers. Keon White has at least shown he can be a productive player in the NFL in the past. I think this is a really good roll of the dice from the 49ers. And from the Patriots' perspective, I mean, they're not getting much back, but it was for a player that they clearly don't really value. So what the hell?
Yeah, and White's moved around the defensive front, as I said earlier. You know, he'll rush from the interior,
and he's got the size to rush inside. Like he's a great fit, I think, for this 49ers defense.
Run game wise too, he had some weird plays. I mean, when coaches bench players or players are no longer in the good graces of the coaches, a lot of times it's like simple stuff in the run game and him losing contain or getting blown off the ball. There was a lot of bad run game reps in there for White too, for a guy that should be
dominant,
should be a game-wrecking type, right? There should be the how he described Shamar Stewart, this like bull in a china shop type of disruptive plays, and there's been elements of that, spurts of that in Keon White's career. So the Niners will try to get some consistency out of him. I like it as a buy low for the 49ers, for a guy that's in year 4 that, could potentially put it together.
Yeah.
It is year 4 for him, right? So those are the trades. Other stuff around the league. And by the way, so the trade deadline's next week. Hoping next Monday or Tuesday we'll get some more action when it comes to trades. We'll see how it plays out here.
It's only 3. They still got 1 year left of Keon White, I believe.
This is year 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another element of this is theoretically if he at least shows promise, they have him next year as well.
Yeah, I think that's what I meant in my head, and then I said 4. Perfect. Well,
I can relate to having a random conniption live in the air.
Tune in tomorrow when Sam analyzes the wrong game, and you never
not the wrong game, just the wrong team in there, right?
The
right game, wrong team.
From last week instead of this. It's great. A couple other things bunch of other stuff to touch on. News around the NFL. We didn't get to touch on it on Sunday in the game recap for the Jets, but former center Nick Mangold passed away this weekend at the age of 41, kidney disease. It was kind of sad. I had heard, there was talk about him looking for a kidney and different things. And
that had only happened recently where Nick Mangold had made this sort of public appeal, clearly reluctantly. I mean, this was obviously not somebody who wanted to go look at. I mean, it's not a small ask, right? Hey, if you've got a kidney. So he was clearly, a sort of reluctant. I've reached this point where I've got no other choice. Made an appeal to everybody if anyone was willing to test and see if they were a match and potentially donate a kidney to him. Like that's where he had reached in this process. And then just a few weeks later, he ends up passing away through complications of this kidney disease. Horrible, horrible, sad story for him and for everybody. He's one of these guys, his legacy, unquestionably one of the best offensive linemen of his generation, but also one of these people where the second something like this happens, you hear all the stories of people who said this was just a great person as well. Like forget the impact that he made as a player. He was also just a great guy, and that's not necessarily the case with everybody. So tremendously sad story for the NFL to lose somebody like him. Going back to his playing legacy, I mean, this is someone that I think was the best center in the league for the majority of his career, and I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame ASAP.
Yeah, he was outstanding for the Jets. So sad news coming out of the Jets with Mangold. We have Cam Skattebo underwent successful surgery. All went well. Brian Daboll, the reports are he'll be back. It's 4 to 6 months for Skattebo. I expect him back by like week 12.
Sure. Did you see Big Dom brought him pizzas and cheesesteak?
So good. I mean, that is good for Dom. Good for Dom. Good for Scat.
He's just an all-rounder.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that makes a Giants running back want to go play in Philadelphia once their contract expires. So I think, Scadaboo going to be an
Just
Eagle.
laying the groundwork for 4 years' time.
This is a long game. Dom's going to be there for a while. He's going to be there. Even if Sirianni doesn't survive 4 years, Dom's going to be the head of security for the next head coach.
Zach Bond apparently also hauled ass out of the building to go see Scadaboo because he was the guy who basically fell on him. Not his fault whatsoever. He felt that bad as having been involved in the injury that he had to didn't even stay to celebrate with his teammates, just went straight to the hospital and was made sure that Scadaboo was okay.
That was great. I mean, nobody wants to dislocate their ankle, but if you're going to get, some
cheesesteak out of it,
cheesesteaks delivered, that's good. I'd like to know, where do you think Dom's go-to cheesesteak?
I don't know. I can't even remember what the drama was. I just remembered we tried 3 of them and they were all pretty good. We
did the touristy Pat's and Geno's. And then we ended up at Steve's, which was better.
Steve's.
And then the one that I've been to the last few times I've been in Philadelphia, now I can't even remember the name, but it's cash only, and it's good. That's my spot.
Cash only places in today's day and age just piss me off.
I know, but
just
that's when you know they're good. You just know that they're better.
There's an ice cream place near where Scout plays soccer that's cash only. And you're like, what are you doing? I tap. I don't.
Then there's people who are no cash. We don't even accept cash.
Right. I mean, I have more time for that. I haven't carried cash in a decade, unless for some reason I need cash and I have to go get some out. But what do you That's insane. How much business are you leaving on the floor just because you're no, we're a cash only place?
Angelo's. That's it. David in the Angelo's is the spot that I am now.
That's your place.
That's my spot. BXC David in the chat said Steve's, Pat's, and Geno's are all bad. He goes, Angelo's is the place.
They're not. How can you say they're all bad?
I mean Pat's and Geno's is it's like going to Wendy's. You know what I mean? In cheesesteak world, it's the touristy, just high volume, cranking them out. Steve's, I believe, was certainly a step up from that. That's what we got. That's what we got advised to do. I got the word from the locals that Angelo's.
Bad, though. Angelo's I would eat all of them and be happy.
Oh, I mean, of course I enjoyed them. No, there's no such thing as
the idea that
you can't have a bad
particularly the idea. Forget this, Steve. I agree. Steve's was a better one than the other two. But the idea that there are people that are this one's great, this one sucks.
No, there's no bad.
Basically the same.
There's no bad. I would enjoy all of them. I'm just saying Angelo's was a different level. No whiz for me. Provolone.
No, you're a without and no whiz.
Without no onions. Without provolone. No, you don't need whiz. No whiz. Enough of that. But Angelo's, if you want to sponsor us, I'll give you all the cash. Send cheesesteaks.
We'll do whatever for cheesesteaks. That's not helping.
Maybe for our Super Bowl party.
That's not helping the diet either.
No, you can't have those till after Christmas. Rams wide receiver news. Puka Nacua expected to return to the game against the Saints this weekend in Week 9. Tutu Atwell has been placed on IR, so flipping receivers there. Good to see Puka coming back. Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold returning to practice. Remember, he had a shoulder injury a few weeks ago.
Which is supposed to shut him down.
Well, immediately they got a second opinion, and it was it's not going to be as bad. So now he's returning to practice.
But there was a tweet that went kind of viral because it's hey, look who's back at practice, Terrion Arnold. We were wait, what? He was supposed to be done.
And then guy that is done for a little bit, Pat Surtain, the second. He's going to be missing, it looks like 4 to 6 weeks for the Broncos. Still don't know about IR for him, I believe, but their next few games, Texans, Raiders, Chiefs, it's a big one. Missing Kansas City, and then the Commanders. Then they have the Raiders and Packers again. That Chiefs one, though, stands out as a game. Obviously, when you're battling for the division, you're going to want the whole defense intact. They're going to be missing Surtain, and they build that defense around his ability to cover opposing number ones. I think it's a big one.
It's going to be a really interesting sort of A/B analysis of, okay, they have the best pass rush in the NFL, but how important is Surtain to that, right? We don't tend to think about the impact that a secondary can make on a pass rush, but those two things are symbiotic. They work in tandem. Jared Allen always used to talk about that with Antoine Winfield, and guys like that for the Vikings. Those guys are important to me having the time to get there and to get a sack. Likewise, Jared Allen was vitally important to those secondary guys being able to survive long enough to, hold up on the back end. So Surtain is a defensive player of the year, best cornerback in the NFL, caliber player. How much does it matter that he's the one out there as opposed to, backups now.
It's absolutely right. I mean, go back to the conversation we had about Myles Garrett on Monday's show when he had the 5 sacks. And I just said, go watch his pass rushes in this game versus other games. The difference was Drake May had to double clutch or not throw the ball a few times. I mean, we used to have this overly, maybe too simplistic argument. Is coverage better than pass rush? Or which they do need to work, right?
Too simplistic, huh?
Too simplistic, right? Maybe. Same guy. They do need to work. I mean, if the Broncos having the most sacks in the NFL by far the last 2 years is as much about their pass rush as it is their coverage unit.
I mean, it's certainly not.
It works together because if the QB has somewhere to throw when they hit the top of their drop, you're not going to get a sack. Like you're not. It's just not going to happen.
It's certainly not a data point that is independent of Patrick Surtain. Like that's the important point to make, right? Everyone's just going, the Broncos have the best pass rush in the NFL. They do, however, it would be incorrect to assume that Patrick Surtain has zero impact on that, and it's a positive one when he's out there. So when he's not out there, he is definitely having a negative impact on what that pass rush can do. The question is how much.
Yeah, so it's something to keep an eye on with Denver, especially leading up to that Chiefs game in a few weeks. Bengals quarterback Joe Flacco, day-to-day with a shoulder.
Uh-oh.
So after all that hype.
Oh, wait, tragic news for Joe Flacco. I wish him the best as an old man over 40 myself, who also was dealing with a shoulder injury for a while. I can empathize. However, the more important shoulder injury I think that's worth talking about is, did you see what it turned out Carson Wentz was actually suffering through?
Yeah.
What the hell?
He was on the injury report every week, right? I mean, we were going to talk about Wentz if you saw our rundown in the Vikings.
I did, but
we're
then
do roadside assistance.
The shoulder injury sparked I think it's worth a discussion about his shoulder injury and what the Vikings allowed to happen in addition to giving the Vikings or him roadside assistance.
What do you mean allowed to happen? We doing this again?
Yes. So where's the tweet? Ian Rappaport tweeted what Carson Wentz actually went through before now he's being shut down. Where is it?
Well, your guy Nick Wright's got some takes on this as well.
Oh, cool.
Some smart ones.
You can let me know what he said. Details on Carson Wentz. In the first half of the London game, Wentz suffered a dislocation that tore his labrum and fractured the socket, per the insiders. He gutted it out for 2.5 more games for the Vikings with a big stabilizing brace, while J.J. McCarthy with his high ankle sprain recovered. I was texting our boo-boo breakdown expert, Vic Troja, and I was like, does that sound like something that you get medical clearance? And he was like, absolutely not. He was extremely surprised by that. He thinks the likelihood is that, something happened in that London game, possibly just a dislocation, a pop back in, and then it was made worse over the course of the last, 2.5 games. But this is the thing, right? There is a fuzzy line between when a guy is hurt and able to play through it and what is like, no, you're not medically cleared to play. Wherever that line is, it almost certainly is short of what Carson Wentz was playing through, i.e. a fracture in his shoulder socket and a torn labrum and a shoulder that's already popped out. And, I mean, there were plays in that game most recently where, he was barely getting touched and he was screaming in agony. Remember Herb Street was, ripping him for showing emotion and being, in tears, basically, on the sideline? The dude's shoulder was hanging out of its socket. What are you talking about?
Similar to Baker Mayfield in 2021, where he had the torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. This one sounds maybe it was worse.
Yes.
For Wentz. The whole season, and quarterbacks usually try to play through shoulder injuries in their non-throwing shoulder, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, are you saying it's on the Vikings to shut him down?
Yes.
Clearly, Carson Wentz was like, hey, I want to play.
I'm saying at some point, if you have a torn labrum, a dislocated shoulder, and a fracture in the socket, I cannot imagine a medical team clearing that for full contact play. That's crazy. And they let him go through 2.5 games of that, including the final game where every time he was touched in any way, shape, or form, it looked like the first time he just dislocated his shoulder. And they put him all the way out there until the 2-minute warning, and then finally put in the budget Paxton Lynch.
Jeez. Can you just use his real name?
No, it's funnier this way. I'll use his real name when he gets a start, if he gets a start this week.
So Carson Wentz, he was on the – here's the thing, too. He was on the injury report with the shoulder the last few weeks. I wanted to look it up, make sure that they didn't skimp on this.
No. They've been saying. I mean, they've been listing him as an injured player.
For instance, week 7. I didn't use week 8 because they had the short week. Week 7, before the Eagles, full participant in every practice.
Right, where they can't hit him.
No, I get it. But still, like, if it was that bad, would there be some level of rest or... Anyway, Nick Wright's take, interesting.
Yes.
From Monday. The current state of NFL insider reporting. The fans don't get to know that Carson Wentz suffered a major injury nearly a full month ago while he's still playing. Mm-hmm. But once he's shut down for the season, we're allowed to know all the gritty, tough details.
Yeah.
Shout out to the agents.
Yes. And Nick Wright had another tweet recently about the same thing, because I got tagged in it, where he was like, he was railing against the insiders again. He was like, the current state of the insiders is, there's this crazy push to be first with every news that's going to get released, to the point where the job gets, or the actual information is less and less. And this is a great example of that. Insiders are falling over themselves to tweet whatever group text just got sent to them by the agents, including like, shout out to the agent that did it. But with Carson Wentz, who's out here with a broken shoulder, effectively, not a peep.
No one knew this. I mean, they probably knew it, but...
Well, either they didn't know it, in which case they're failing at their jobs, or they did know it and they didn't send it to anybody because they're in the pockets of the agents, in which case they're also failing at their jobs, but in a different way.
Yeah, it is bad, man.
It's terrible.
So nobody got this information that he was playing hurt.
Everything about this is bad.
It's only after the fact, and so just keep your eyes open. That's all we suggest to our viewers and listeners. Keep your eyes open when you get the after the fact, like, oh, I know this guy's down injured, but he went to his teammates. He said, I got to do it. He called his own meeting. He said, I got to play through it. Like that. Like that's the type of reporting that we get. Hey, they shut down not this specifically. They shut down so-and-so, but the guy was trying to grit it out, tough it out, and that's why he wasn't the same player during that time, but he had to do it for his teammates. That's the type of stuff that gets reported.
Yeah, so look, everything...
Which is directly from agencies.
Yes, and let's be honest, this information is also going to be directly from the agent as well. Like, this is the thing. Everything about this is bad, right? The fact that there's an insider failing generally is bad. I think it's also bad if this tweet is accurate and the Vikings legitimately cleared Carson Wentz to play through what he was playing through, because evidently from that last performance, he should not have been out on the field. And it was, I think, kind of negligent to throw him out there given that. Like, that was brutal watching him play in that game.
I don't know enough about it. Was there more damage that could be done, or was it literally just pain management type stuff?
I mean, if you've already got a fracture, you can do more damage.
So for those who don't remember the Baker Mayfield conversation in 2021, in week 2, dislocated his shoulder, left shoulder, played through it the entire season. And we brought it up every week. There were circumstances why his production wasn't good that year. They played in a lot of weather games, but he was playing through injury the whole time. You're like, dude, sit. You're killing your stock.
And making it worse. I mean, he made it worse through the course of that play. But the other thing is, details in like this tweet from Rap Sheet, details in Carson Wentz in the first, blah, blah, blah. So for this injury is really bad, and he gutted it out for 2.5 more games to the Vikings with a big stabilizing brace. I mean, that is exactly the tweet you would put out if you were the agent of Carson Wentz trying to explain why Carson Wentz played like ass and got benched, right? So, I mean, the same failing that Nick Wright is talking about of the insiders not being able to bring you information until an agent feeds it to them in a text message is also why you should take this with at least a grain of salt, that maybe this is not exactly the case. While if that is accurate, I think the Vikings have some questions to answer. We don't know that that's 100% accurate because it's almost certainly coming directly from an agent.
It's a very fair point. He's having season-ending surgery, but...
Oh, obviously he's injured. I mean,
yeah.
But the question, was it exactly as they're saying? Right.
How much of it was a month ago? Yeah. How much of it was the Chargers game? Did he actually gut it out the right way, like as he should? And it just got worse with all the hits against the Chargers, because he was in way more pain against the Chargers than any other game.
That's the thing. I mean, Vic and myself essentially think that, look, it was like the Baker Mayfield thing on a shorter time scale, right? Obviously, he probably popped it out the first time, and then somewhere along the road, he made it worse. One of the hits that he took. Remember, I mean, in those games, he's scrambling on third down, picking up a first down, getting popped at the end of it. Somewhere along the road, it got made significantly worse. And in that last game, he looked like he was just in agony constantly. Remember, by the way, in agony almost certainly having taken some fairly hefty painkillers going into that game. Like, this is not just agony.
How do you feel the next day?
Yeah, this is not just like agony, I got hurt and I'm in intense pain right now. This is agony through whatever painkillers you've been shot up to play that game with.
Right.
And I've taken some of those painkillers in the past, and you can't feel anything.
Oh, man. Never had any painkillers. First time I took ibuprofen, though.
It was like a new world. I've taken the two things that I've had that were like real difference makers, I took a shot of Toradol one time. I was just offered it. I was like, my shoulders in some pain. They were like, you want a Toradol shot? And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's give this a swing. And that was pretty impressive. And then I had a dose of Codamol one time, which is codeine.
Yeah.
And I'd broken my wrist. And my wrist went from I can't move it, oh, this is intensely painful, to about 5 minutes later, I was like using it to, cook with. I was like, I can't feel anything. This is amazing.
But you're just masking the pain. Yeah.
Just gone. So what I'm saying is, like, whatever Wentz has access to, it's of that caliber. And he was still in agony.
When I got injured, I had some sort of like prednisone steroid. It didn't really do much. The first time I took, because you wouldn't be able to appreciate pitching because you think pitchers could just pitch every day. But the first time I took ibuprofen in the regionals in college, and I had to pitch on 2 days rest. I threw 125 pitches on Thursday night, had to come back on Sunday on 2 days rest in relief. And I was like, well, I got to take some ibuprofen.
Got it.
Because on 2 days rest after 125 pitches, you should not be able to throw at all. And I thought I might only be needed for like an inning or two. And I went 6 1/3. So basically 7 innings and threw 100 pitches on 2 days rest. And I felt great. And it was just ibuprofen. It was like the first time I'd ever used any kind of pills.
Yeah.
The next day, though, I was really hurt. Like I did some damage. And so 4 days later, when I was supposed to pitch again, it was like, oh, I can't throw a curveball. So I did some masking of the pain with just ibuprofen back then when I wasn't used to it.
And that's more.
But I got to be a hero for a weekend.
Yeah, and ibuprofen's more of a like anti-inflammatory than a true painkiller. So it's not even like it's not even a high-end painkiller at all.
I did take creatine Mohawk back in my pro days. Took a nice creatine mix. I think it was coincided with some velocity increases. I think creatine's great for pitching.
Yeah,
for drinking
it's
enough water.
Supposed to be great for a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like the perfect thing for
I read recently that
anaerobic exercise.
That there's so the standard creatine dose that everyone talks about is like 5 grams a day, which is always crazy, by the way, because you and I having the same dosage for anything is nuts.
I just double mine.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, but there's apparently supposed to be like various cognitive benefits for it, up to like 20-something grams of creatine. It's like, do you have any idea how much creatine 20-something grams is?
What do you get from just meats in general?
Quite a lot, yeah. But anyway, but it's like, even if there are outstanding, cognitive benefits to 25 grams or whatever, like that's like half a mug of creatine a day. I'm not consuming that. It's too much. It can't be worth it. Anyway.
What else we got here?
More medical advice by Sam and Steve.
Oh, that's good stuff. Take ibuprofen if you want to pitch on 2 days rest.
And up to 25 grams of creatine, apparently.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels expected to practice and be back today.
Great.
Coming off his hamstring injury. 3rd time in his career he's missed time due to an injury. We're going to start having that.
He's just take care of his body, according to Keep the
Got to
Lead.
take care of his
like
body.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix out here getting massages in the offseason. What's
It's
Jaden
a
Daniels
fair
doing?
question. I think a lot of QB durability is on them. Carson Wentz, I believe, is both tough and injury prone at the same time. He's had
incredibly injury prone.
Right? He's had a lot of injuries, and has he toughed his way through some of them? Maybe this one, sure.
I mean,
but you have to say he's injury prone.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were kind of joking about Wentz's how long it would take him starting before he got hurt. He literally got hurt in the first game.
First game,
London? No, second game. He didn't start or JJ didn't start in Dublin, right? Wentz's first start would have been Dublin.
Oh yeah, so
second game.
Second game.
Almost immediately he was hurt.
Yep.
And we were kind of joking about that as the man is just staggeringly brittle.
And he's got the body type that you say, no, he's durable.
Right.
And that's
and it's never been.
It's not really the case. Lamar Jackson, full participant in practice, so he should be playing tomorrow night, as we said. So it's just an interesting dynamic. Like 4 extra days were enough for him to to get back out there.
Right.
Wasn't ready to go on Sunday. It's a hamstring. Always got to keep an eye on that. We'll see how.
I mean, that's fascinating. Like the difference between go no go is 4 days with a hamstring. I mean, to me, having had hamstring injuries, 4 days feels like nothing.
Yeah.
Like the idea that I wasn't ready to go and then 4 days later I'm like good to go 100% feels crazy.
And you got to see. I mean, we theorized, was he already losing a step this season? Not saying for life, but this season looked a step slow. That Lions game, what was it, week 3? The Lions game where he did not have that same escapability and they sacked him 7 or 8 times was a little alarming. So is he going to change his game? Is he going to win from the pocket more? Are they not going to have as many keepers? What are they going to do? We'll talk about that tomorrow as we preview the game. Tyler Lockett asked for his release from the Titans. We'd already talked about that. He's going to sign with the Raiders, or signed with the Raiders, reuniting with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith.
That makes some sense, I think. Obviously, it's like, on the one hand, it's just guys you know. On the other hand, Geno's been struggling with a receiving core that is not great and he's not used to. It can't do any harm to throw Tyler Lockett in there and just give Geno some confidence and comfort level with one guy, Yeah. Hopefully, Brock Bowers coming back is the most important thing that can happen to that receiving core. But simply adding a guy that he has a degree of comfort with cannot be a bad thing, I think, for this receiving group.
And I'll say it again. I thought Tyler Lockett was used like Rondale Moore. Like he was used like a shifty slot receiver that he's not, 12 years into his career. So maybe just going out on the outside and, winning some intermediate routes will be the way to go. Carson Schwetzinger, the rookie linebacker for the Browns, high ankle sprain. He's week to week, not expected to be placed on IR. Unfortunate. I mean, he had a really nice interception against Drake May the other day. He's had a really nice rookie season. And the Bears are the latest team to kick the tires on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. After he's making the Deontay Johnson type of rounds.
Not even kick the tires. I mean, they brought him in. They've signed him.
Signing him. But it's kicking the tires by signing and seeing how he does in the locker room.
Who did he get? Didn't he get a Bears player ejected one time for trash talking and punching him?
Almost certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, chances are he is
done
pissed
to a lot
off
of people.
most teams in the league.
That's the thing. You're running out of teams to sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who he hasn't directly inflamed and pissed off at some point.
All right, that's your Wednesday update. Oh, once again, becoming one of my favorite segments to just go around the league, hit up on the news, and ramble about creatine and ibuprofen. A quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, so after a few weeks, you get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. You can save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, if you lock your keys in your car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. And today, we are providing roadside assistance for the Minnesota Vikings. And the tough start to their season. So they're going to lose Carson Wentz to IR. Looks like J.J. McCarthy is going to be back to play. You've got a tough schedule coming up.
Fortuitous timing.
Yes. Tough schedule. And, rough start to the season here for the Vikings, who had high expectations.
It is.
How are we going to solve this thing?
So it's a rough start to the season. It's also, they're still very much in the thick of it.
They're 3-4. They're in last place in the North.
Sure.
Packers are 5-1-1. Lions 5-2. Bears 4-3. Vikings 3-4.
Right.
Carry on. Sorry.
But it's only a couple games back. And again, forget the division for a moment. You're still right in the thick of any kind of playoff picture. So the season's far from over, even though they have arguably the toughest schedule in the NFL going forward, depending on what measure you use. The issue becomes, what if J.J. McCarthy still looks terrible? That's where you get real problems. Like if J.J. McCarthy comes back and looks great, like the one half that he had against Chicago where he put it all together and looked fine, if that's who he is going forward and what we saw for a couple of games was just a blip or just, whatever, now he's ready to cook, well then all problems are solved for Minnesota. You might not win the division. You might still be just, good, not great. But you're right back in the mix because you've got a quarterback again. If J.J. McCarthy sucks, well, now you've got some real issues.
Yeah, my solution's not going to be a big solution other than, play football and just go play football. KOC's done a really nice job with quarterbacks through the years. lean into that. They do have a good situation on the perimeter, or at least as far as pass catchers go. I know the offensive line has not been, certainly hasn't made the improvements that they expected. J.J. McCarthy is athletic. You have the ability to roll him out. He throws well on the run. Get him out of the pocket. Give him the easy buttons, as I always say. Trust Justin Jefferson. Continue to move him around and create mismatches. On paper, you should have this good group of pass catchers between Jefferson, Addison. Don't know about Josh Oliver as far as his injury goes, but certainly T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. Like, you've got dudes to throw to. You can move J.J. around a little bit, lean on the run game, mix it up with Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. Like, you have the pieces as far as the skill position players go. And you have to get rid of the ball, get the ball out of JJ's hands to protect the offensive line a little bit. So give him some easy buttons, lean on those receivers, move the pocket, give him a keeper every once in a while, not too many, just to keep things on schedule, keep defenses off balance. And I think you got something there.
I guess I can invoke his name now, but how long, if J.J. McCarthy comes back and looks bad, how long do you give it before you give Max Brosmer a chance?
A while. I mean, it's got to look really bad for JJ.
Yeah, but it did for.
No, I know
quite a lot
it did. I thought his arm didn't look great on a bunch of throws. He was struggling under pressure against Atlanta. Now that was when Atlanta was in their bag and they were doing a ton up front with the linebackers and pass rushers and sim pressures, and they had the great Devon Diablo still playing.
A huge variable, though, is still this Minnesota offensive line, which, look, Justin Herbert has been dealing with a bad offensive line for a lot of the season and has been playing very well in
a lot
the
of his
face
career.
Of that. Yeah, but none of the quarterbacks the Vikings have on the roster are Justin Herbert, and certainly not at the moment. Whether or not they'll ever become that is a different question. Minnesota, much of their offseason was focused on overhauling an offensive line that got its ass handed to it late in the season by Detroit and then the Rams. They haven't. I mean, it's like they didn't do that because those players have not been available for the majority of the season. Coming out of that last game, they were down again 3 of their offensive linemen that they wanted to have in the game. Like, they've yet to have the theoretical starting 5 available for a single game. At times, the 5 that they've had out there have been like a collective travesty. They need at least the majority of that offensive line healthy and available and on the field at the same time. I think for J.J. McCarthy or Brosmer to have any shot.
So that's one piece of it. Certainly need to be better up front. I think they have the pieces to protect it. Like, the one way to protect the offensive line is getting rid of the ball. So they should, like, quick game, getting rid of the ball, leaning into those good receivers in Hawkinson. The challenge, of course, is going to be the schedule that we've said quite a bit. They're sitting here at 3-4, going to Detroit this week, home against the Ravens, home against the Bears, at Green Bay, at Seattle. That's the next 5 weeks.
They don't have a quote-unquote easy game left on the schedule.
Yeah.
Like, the closest thing they have to easy games are Chicago, division game.
Commanders.
Yeah, Washington, and then the Giants, theoretically.
And we're talking about a Commanders team that's probably underachieving a little bit. Now, should have Jaden Daniels, a Cowboys team that's still going to be tough.
They probably don't.
And you have the Lions twice and the Packers twice.
They
right?
probably don't face an easy opponent, and they probably don't go into a single game from here on in with the better quarterback.
Well, so we'll see with JJ. Defense has to be better too.
Yes.
Struggled in the run game, not creating the same type of pressure and havoc that they've created. So there's been some health issues there with, like, losing Van Ginkel on the edge, but you were supposed to be deep enough on the defensive line given Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, the first-round pick on Dallas Turner. Like, they should be able to create havoc with 4 if they don't want to blitz, and they're not finding that balance right now.
The defense has been a real concern the last couple of weeks. I mean, they've been getting attacked. They are usually the side that's doing the attacking on defense and causing problems for opposing quarterbacks. And, I mean, certainly Justin Herbert had no issue whatsoever dealing with that at all.
Hurts had 320 on, like, 19 completions.
Yeah. I mean, that one was a little bit more, there's one-on-one shots on the outside, and they made a series of those plays. The Herbert thing, though, just everything he did had them screwed. But, yeah, for 2 straight weeks, the opposing quarterback has basically negated everything they wanted to do. So what's the counter to that? I mean, it's, as you said, it's earlier than it normally happens, but Brian Flores has been sent back to the drawing board and needs to come up with something different.
Not sure if we've solved everything, but we've at least
how bad it is.
We've given some roadside assistance. Go check out root.com.
What we've done is effectively, rocked up to the side of the road with the van, with all the stuff on it, and outlined how screwed your car is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your engine's blown up, you're losing a wheel, the transmission's shot, your chassis is in bits. Unlucky.
We'll drive you to Detroit to the Lions game.
We'll load it on the van and, take it to a shop, but it's not going anywhere on its own.
But good luck. Good luck solving that. That was our worst roadside assistance yet. All right, we've got one more thing to get through here to discuss. We're halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Halfway through. Just about. Exactly. Like midweek of between weeks 8 and 9.
And while everyone else in the world is doing midseason all-pro teams and awards, not you. You don't like them.
Did you want to do it?
I just, it's what other people are doing.
Midseason. Oh, here's your midseason MVP. Here's your midseason.
Well, not MVP because I don't like that award, but other ones.
Maybe next week we'll do it. If you really want to.
A little bit past.
What has stood out? What are the big stories from this season? What has stood out to you?
What has stood out? I think obviously the Colts has to be one of the biggest stories of the NFL this season. Now, I wasn't as surprised by it as some other people. I had them winning the division preseason. It's one of the few things I got right going into the season.
On your bold takes, I think.
So, it was, I think, always plausible that this Colts team could be a playoff type of side, but they don't look like just a playoff type of side. They look like, right now they are arguably the best team in the NFL, but nobody believes it really yet because it's, Daniel Jones and blah, blah, blah. We're going to wait to see it play out. But they're clearly minimum a playoff team, and they might be an absolute juggernaut.
They're just a fascinating squad, Sam, because we've always described them, and Chris Ballard, the GM, has been there for a while. We've always described them as a good roster, not great. In the Ballard history of trying to find the quarterback, and I'm always very empathetic to the general manager who I think does a really good job with 52 roster spots, but the one most important one, there's no secret sauce to finding the one. And he had Andrew Luck retire on him, and he went Jacoby Brissett for a year, and Phillip Rivers for a year, and Matt Ryan for a year, and then you go Carson Wentz for a year. Like, this was the move. Then you have to – it's like, all right, now we have to draft. We can't just go the veteran old man route. Now we're going to go to the draft. It's Anthony Richardson, and it's a completely different type of quarterback than established veteran in his 30s who you just hope has something left.
But doesn't it also show you how inexact this is? Like, now we're going to be in this world where everyone is like, just build a decent team and then get a Daniel Jones or a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield. Any old stooge can be put in there, and suddenly you've got a playoff team. The Colts tried that with a series of those guys before, and it didn't work. And they only once they swung and missed on a draft guy to go in the other direction of the series of veteran quarterbacks that hadn't been good enough to get it done.
It's so true,
did they finally put it together with the one guy who was kind of an afterthought?
It's so true. Like, everybody talks about, the league trend is to find the guy. But there's literally like one guy that's hit, say, per season over the last 4 years. Not only one, but it's significant, right? Over the last 4 seasons, I know Geno Smith has fallen off, but that was he became a good starter for 3 years. Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Daniel Jones. But what's the denominator on those attempts? Because there's plenty of those attempts. Russell Wilson or late career Matt Ryan, but this is different style. Like, every former first-round pick has had a second chance somewhere, right?
Yeah, usually. I mean, those guys rarely are, immediately, you had a shot, you didn't make it, you're done. You're gone.
So almost all of them have at least had a second.
I mean, even a team
chance.
Traded for Josh Rosen. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he was immediately just run out of the NFL. Like,
maybe it's time to bring
those guys are almost always somewhere the next season or the year after being given at least a shot to, play another time at some point.
It's just fascinating because I think it's not like Daniel Jones got dropped into a juggernaut. He got it. Like, you could make the argument that Brock Purdy got added to a juggernaut in San Francisco. You've got one of the best play callers in Kyle Shanahan, and there was a point where they had the very best player at like 5 different positions, both sides of the ball, but especially on offense, and Deebo Samuel. Purdy got dropped into a juggernaut, and it's like, all right, can't just find your next Brock Purdy. Like, he got put into a great situation, and he might be good as well. Jones got added to just a good roster, just a good, solid roster, and he looks outstanding this year, and the line looks great, and all the pass catchers look great, and Jonathan Taylor looks great. Lou Anarumo should not be slept on as a defensive coordinator addition. Overhauls that defense. They've battled some injuries, and they're going to deal with some injuries these next few weeks that might challenge them, but they've done a really nice job on that side of the ball. So it's just a lot that's come together for Indy. And for Ballard, it's like years of, I think he's done a decent job, not a great job, not a terrible job. He's done a decent job. And then it's like once you find the quarterback that's going to fit well there, it's working out well. Now, there's a whole second half of the season to go.
Yep.
But in many of our offseason conversations, we said, well, what if we have this how much do you pay Daniel Jones conversation halfway through the year? Well, here we are.
Yeah.
Are you locked into Daniel Jones for the future? And like, how much more do you need to see? This is the same as the Sam Darnold discussion.
It's exactly the same. And I'm treating it the same. I'm like, I'm going to wait until the last possible second to make this determination because sample size is an issue. I mean, the Sam Darnold thing, I wasn't ready to buy into that until right at the end before he fell off the wagon. And then he fell off the wagon. You're like, now I have no idea what to do. And I think the Vikings were in the same position. Apparently, the decision was probably to re-up him. Now, it's not quite as simple because you do that, you probably don't have the money to overhaul the offensive line. And I don't know how good Darnold looks if you're getting buried behind that Vikings offensive line. But anyway, it's the same with Daniel Jones. Like, I'm not handing Daniel Jones, $40 million plus a year right now. But if he plays like this all the way through the season and there's no catastrophe, well, then you probably are.
And there are some similarities. Remember, Daniel Jones did have a playoff run with the Giants, the 2022 team that we always said overachieved because the roster itself wasn't great, but they had a lot of just late game wins, and they were a couple plays away from, instead of 11 wins, having 8.
Right.
But they have the huge playoff win against Minnesota, and so the whole way you're talking your way into, do you pay Daniel Jones?
Yeah,
which they did, but then they ran into the Eagles, who just smoked them in the playoffs because they were way better.
Yeah,
and it was like, all right, so that's what I'm kind of like keeping an eye on here. Do they get into the playoffs and just there's a game where it's like Josh Allen's on the other side and you're clearly unable to compete with Josh Allen or Mahomes or whoever?
Yeah. I think this
and that's
is very
like, do
different.
you want to invest in that?
Yeah, this is very different from that.
It is different from 22 because this offense looks great.
The team looks great. I mean, even in the playoff, they were, number one, they didn't look like a playoff team at that point. They upset the Vikings because Dexter Lawrence just decided to take over that game and wrecked a bunch of Vikings offensive linemen late in the game and literally just decided single-handedly we're winning this game. And then you ran up against the Eagles, who have a good offensive line, and that couldn't happen again. So that's different to this situation where you've got, right now, the Colts offense looks like the best in the NFL, basically regardless of who it's playing. The defense is plenty good enough to hold up its end of the bargain and, survive over the course of a season. So this team, if and when it continues and we reach that point, I mean, it'll go into the playoffs looking like a real playoff team. And you wouldn't be expecting it to just suddenly turn into a pumpkin going up against, Buffalo or Baltimore or Kansas City.
So similar big story. They're Colts currently the number 1 seed in the AFC. In the NFC, it's the Packers. And look, I'm not saying all of our analysis was right, but one of the similar type of analysis on the Packers when we used to talk about their roster, right? Not a lot of star power until they traded for Micah Parsons. And I think you're seeing the residual effect of what he brings to that defense. They're still one of the youngest teams. So years of...
The youngest team.
Are they the youngest once again?
Yeah.
Third straight year?
I think they were anyway, but certainly once they traded away Kenny Clark, they became definitely the youngest.
So they got the youth, even though it's experienced youth right now. Parsons added to the mix, and then Jordan Love playing again at extremely high level. And look, you and I watched the Colts and Packers in training camp. Mm-hmm. We were there for the joint practice. I don't think either of us came away being like, man, this is future Super Bowl matchup here.
This is just a comedy way that my mug is sitting above Micah Parsons' head there that looks like he's carrying around like some kind of, I don't know what you'd call that.
It's got like a...
It's like he's carrying around a 20-pound weight in the top
of his
head. Got a weight
on his helmet. Move your mug.
Well, no, because then it'll ruin the whole image.
It's a good image. Packers. Discussed. That was my transition to the Packers.
Yeah, I mean... At the point where they made the Micah Parsons trade, I think that became one of the stories of the NFL. Like, they had been this incredibly talented young team for years, but have been trapped in this good, not great world. And then you're like, well, can Matthew Golden propel them into that different category, like the elite teams? And then when you add Micah Parsons, like, well, now you've got a potential difference maker on offense, a potential difference maker on defense. Now you're really chasing that world. And okay, Golden's been more hit and miss, but Micah Parsons has made a massive difference to that defense. And I mean, I don't know that they've necessarily, I know they're sitting in first place in the NFC right now, but I don't know if they've been materially different from the rest of the NFC at the top, like Philadelphia, Detroit, the other teams that you would throw in there, Tampa Bay as contenders, Seattle. But they're absolutely in the group anyway. And clearly they have the ceiling that puts them in that category of like elite contender.
I think it has me thinking more too. Micah Parsons type players don't grow on trees. We know that. But we were just talking about Myles Garrett and the idea of him asking for a trade or whatever. And what should a team have given up for Myles Garrett if he was out there? The impact that one player has. It's got me rethinking the impact of one player on that side of the ball on the defensive line. We came out of the Super Bowl saying the Eagles, they're loaded on the defensive line and you want to roll 8 deep, and I use that phrase a lot. But sometimes the impact that one player has, especially in this case when you move Parsons around, in every single third down, it's like, oh, he's playing nose tackle now. Now he's 3 technique. Now he's on the outside against the right tackle. Now he's edge against the left tackle. And it changes so much. It is, go back to the Will Anderson trade. Like, what would that Texans pass rush be like if they didn't have Will Anderson? Is that worth multiple players to make sure that you have that? So I think it might be the one position where on defense where you have the one player makes that big of an impact. Losing Nick Bosa for the Niners, I think that's one of the stories of the season for me, is the addition of Micah Parsons to the Packers, the subtraction of Micah Parsons from the Cowboys, and all of a sudden the entire defense changes because the Cowboys being this bad defensively is another story of the season. They've been historically awful so far, and maybe they would have been still with Micah Parsons because of some of their other personnel issues, but you clearly, they're struggling to rush the passer, and the one player impact, man, at non-quarterback positions might be showing how important that is.
Yeah, I think it can be huge. Another huge, one of the bigger stories, I think, has got to be just the AFC North in general. This dynamic of Baltimore has been terrible for most of the season. Pittsburgh has been, winning games, staying above 500, looking solid, and at no point was Vegas ever in doubt that this was still a close run for the whole thing. Now you're in a situation where Baltimore sneak a win last week, still without Lamar Jackson. Pittsburgh drops one, Cincinnati drops one, and again, it's still right back in the thick of it. Baltimore plays both those two teams twice. Even just with that swing, they can get back to the top of the division, plus their schedule is very easy. Like, how this division is going to play out over the course of the year. Pittsburgh's point differential is 0. Everybody else's is hard negative. How does it end up?
I know we're reviewing the first half of the season, but we have some Zennial news here for Zennials everywhere.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos are signing 41-year-old tight end Mercedes Lewis, per Adam Schefter. So good for us, Sam. We've got more 40-year-olds in the league. Zennials, those born between 1978 and 1984. I believe Mercedes is in that group.
Just sneaks into it.
Just sneaks in.
I was thinking the other day.
In between Gen X and Millennials.
When the reports showed up that, the Broncos are working out Mercedes Lewis, how he must clearly keep himself in shape. Because, even just doing a workout at this point, it's things could snap, you get yourself hurt. Just roll out of bed, something sore. I assume he's in a much higher baseline of peak physical condition than us, but it's just rocking up for a workout is liable to injure somebody at this age.
Power listener Josh Dubow, of course, adds great context to this. Mercedes Lewis was part of the 2006 draft class that already includes one player inducted to the Hall of Fame, Devin Hester, and another who's in his 3rd season as NFL head coach, D'Amico Ryans. That's right up there when Tom Brady, Calvin Johnson, went to high school, had a high school, college, and Hall of Fame NFL career.
And got inducted.
And Tom Brady was playing the entire time.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Mercedes Lewis coming back at 41.
Good for him. Dude, playing tight end. It's not even one of these positions where like you can reasonably expect like a minimal level of contact late. And it's like, no, he's in the trenches getting dirty with the defensive lineman every play.
He was the 06 Jags draft class. He was the first round pick. The second round pick was MJD. And MJD and Fred Taylor they were a pretty sweet 1-2 punch for a few years.
Yeah.
On that Jags team. I asked the people, what's their biggest story from the season so far? Did we get any answers? What else do we have as big stories from?
Geno Smith and the Raiders outright sucking has got to be a pretty big one. Like, nobody expected them, I don't think, to win the division or to, be dominant. But the thought was that Geno plus Pete Carroll should equal a pretty solid team that would be at least competitive week in, week out. And Geno's unexplained drop off a cliff in terms of playing performance, I think, has been a pretty big story.
Let me ask you this one. There's the Jets, Browns, Titans, Raiders. All those teams in the AFC have 1 or 2 wins. The Giants, Saints, and then the Cardinals. Those are all the teams with 1 or 2 wins. Even though we spend a lot of offseason saying, I don't think there's any bad draft. Like, no teams like bombing the draft and free agency, and there's seemingly some off-season parity around the NFL.
Yeah.
The only group of those teams, I thought the Saints weren't going to be good. Titans were in a rebuild. Browns are in a rebuild. The Raiders surprised me a little bit in that group because I just thought they'd be competitive. And the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And they've lost some tough ones. They have their point differential is -1. Right. The Cardinals have had some quirky games.
And they're 0-2 in a division where everybody's good.
Yeah. And now look, they beat the Saints and Panthers early in the season when fine. The Cardinals being at 2-5 is the other surprise. That the other teams having 1 or 2 wins. The Jets doesn't completely surprise me, even though I thought they'd be more competitive.
Like the Cardinals are 2-5 with a better point differential than the 49ers, who are 5-3.
Yeah, just for some perspective. So it's like I think that there's more parity in the NFL. I think we're feeling that. But there's also you get that disparity of record where it doesn't show up. But the teams that have the bad records are the ones that I mostly expected.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I guess Geno's unexplained drop-off, I think, is a huge story this year. We already covered Daniel Jones and the Colts generally. Darnold, like that, the Darnold-Geno dynamic this offseason.
Yeah.
Like they're connected. The Seahawks, whether their hand was forced or not, decided we are going to trade away our quarterback. We're going to trade away our number 1 wide receiver, number 1, quote unquote. And we're going to volunteer effectively to go in a completely different direction at the 2 most important positions in the NFL, arguably. Certainly 1, and then 1 of the next 3. And that has been, I mean, you couldn't have made a better decision based off current evidence. Like, Geno's terrible. JSN is one of the best receivers in the NFL. And Darnold looks as good as he ever did in Minnesota, if not better, behind this group.
Yeah, and I thought it could have been a wash.
Yeah, it certainly was not clear that was an upgrade at the time. You could argue it, absolutely. You could say last year's version of Darnold was better than anything we'd seen from Geno, and certainly better than Geno last year. But it certainly wasn't obvious that was going to be an upgrade.
The other part of it, and we had to, I think it was like a Friday night or something where Geno got traded, and we had to do a quick reaction on that back in March, right? It was before free agency started. So we had to ask the question, like, well, what's Seattle's plan? Because it wasn't like a clear, hey, we know we have to go compete in free agency for Sam Darnold, unless there was some illegal tampering going on, which I know that would never happen in the NFL. But they didn't know they were going to get Darnold, so they opted into this unknown world. They get Darnold, which clearly was their plan, after being unable to sign Geno Smith. And it has worked out great for them.
It's worked out incredibly. I mean, and
good for Sam Darnold that he's first off overcame the collapse last year, but continued. And look, he might have some bad games down the stretch again this year, and it's just who he is. But at least at this point, we could say Darnold's he's shown that he could be a good NFL starter for a period, like an extended period of time.
Very good.
And Seattle's got to feel good about that.
Very good. I mean, he was playing at sort of borderline all-pro, certainly Pro Bowl level last year before the collapse. This year, by a lot of those EPA measures, he's the number one quarterback in the NFL. So he hasn't just been good the last 2 years. I mean, he's been literally right up there with the MVP caliber quarterbacks, right? However you want to, there's a million ways of analyzing quarterback play and evaluating these guys and, stacking them up. You can make a very compelling case statistically that puts Darnold up there with the guys that everyone talks about as being the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, whether or not you want to categorize him in that group, that's how he's playing the last 2 years outside of the games where he implodes and melts down and things are bad.
I would say the Chiefs starting 0-2. Like, nothing about the Chiefs' season I don't think is really surprising. It was like they had a tough schedule at the beginning. They had some injuries. They have most of their injured players back or suspended players. And the offense looks the best it's looked in 3 years.
Yeah.
I think the bigger, not bigger story, but as big of a story, they're number 2 in points allowed defensively. And I think just as much as, look, they traded Tyreek Hill and reloaded their defense with all those draft picks. But now they're at this point where they can lose a L'Jarius Sneed. They're losing Justin Reed, Tershawn Wharton. Like, they've lost some good, dependable Chiefs-type players the last few years, and the defense really hasn't had a drop-off. So I think that part is as much a big story for me. The Chiefs have allowed 7 points in the last 2 games now, and the defense looks great.
Yeah.
In addition, despite some of their losses, in addition to the offense finding their groove.
And not just losses, but kind of downturn of performance. I mean, Chris Jones has been good, but he hasn't been the best defensive tackle in the NFL the way he's been for a while now. They haven't had that true impact, dominant, deep pass rush the way they have at various points in the last couple of years. So, like, every Chiefs, every team is this way, but every Chiefs team each year is slightly different. Sometimes it's the offense carrying it, sometimes the defense carries it. This year it's been all over the place a little bit. But yeah, it's a completely different Chiefs team to every year they've had previously.
Do you think the media, the next time the Chiefs lose 2 straight games, do you think the media will stop declaring the dynasty dead?
No.
Okay.
They do that. The Patriots dynasty was dying for, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's
Mariano Rivera, everybody.
I'm sure they did this to the 49ers in the 80s as well. Like, that's it. It's over.
The sports reporters just smoking their stogies. Be like, this is it.
Well, it's
Bill
like
Walsh has lost his fastball.
It's the
in like 87, and then they won 2
Shouty
straight.
World. Like, you gotta be first. You gotta be first with the hottest take, and the only way of doing that is to jump on one piece of evidence and say, "Well, that's it. This is the evidence I need to say this thing is happening now." And yeah, if you're right, if it is the time, it's over. You're the first.
They're alive unless, like, I'll be fascinated when Mahomes might be 4 or 5 years from now when he either doesn't have Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a major difference, but that would be like the first challenge for maintenance.
Head
you would
coach
say.
Matt Nagy takes over.
Oh, jeez. Or like a major injury for Mahomes. Like, unless that happens, the other thing I would suggest, like, if you're the Raiders and you were going to go through another coaching change, right? You're like, Pete's too old and he's not doing it right now. Why wouldn't someone in the AFC just hire Spags? Like, if you're the Titans, would you hire Spags?
Do you think he wants? I always wonder.
He might not
these guys.
want. He might not want to.
I always wonder about these guys that are kind of older coaches that had their shot at one point, however it went, and then they settle into like a long tenure of coordinator and like elite coordinator. Do they even want the gig
He might not
again?
want it at all. I have no idea. I'm just wondering if you're especially in like the AFC West, if you could pull that. Like, it's not going to solve the Mahomes piece or anything like that, but clearly they're more dangerous when both the offense and defense can get you. And Spags is completely, like, he's a huge part of that dynasty. Like, the fact that they're winning Super Bowls and what he's able to do on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Patriots being 6. The AFC generally, we mentioned the Colts. It's like a new age throwback. The Patriots, Broncos, Colts, Steelers for a bit. It's like the teams that were there a decade ago.
Oh,
with new people.
Drake May looking as good as he's looking right now is absolutely one of the stories of the NFL. Like, coming in, we said, look, this is going to be a fascinating kind of case study because last year everything around Drake May was bad. And we know that all of those things make an impact on a quarterback. What we don't know is how much. So how much does upgrading the receiving core do for him? How much does upgrading the offensive line do for him? How much does theoretically upgrading coaching do for him? It's never this simple, but like right now, all those things theoretically got better, and Drake May went from looking pretty good in a bad situation, really bad situation, to looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, does that sustain? Is that really how important all that stuff was? I mean, little bits of pieces of evidence are stacking up league-wide that says the supporting cast around a quarterback is so incredibly important. Yes, getting a guy with talent is huge. And, Nick earlier in the show was like, you don't get a chance to upgrade, and get one of those top 10 guys talent-wise very often. So you almost have to take it when you do. But equally, none of that matters unless you have, if the supporting cast around that guy is terrible, you'll never know. You'll never see it. And someone else will get the benefit of the top 10 talent that guy has if they have all those things in place. But we've kind of always known intuitively that this was, it's all part of the puzzle. But recent years is saying maybe all that stuff is way more powerful than people ever thought it was.
It's always fun looking back at the butterfly effect of different either decisions, non-decisions, or plays. I know Texans fans talk a lot about that game that Lovie Smith won, right? That got them C.J. Stroud, for whatever that's worth. The game that when Tommy DeVito remember when Tommy was starting for the Giants against the Patriots? Did it go to overtime? Was it going to go to overtime? The Patriots miss a field goal to go to overtime, and they got the win. And we were all joking about Tommy, and they called in the favor, and they got it, and this and that. That was one of the games that helped the Patriots get the number 3 pick to get to Drake May. And then the fact that the Giants and Vikings both tried to trade up to get May?
Yeah.
As well? Mm-hmm. And neither, so the Giants end up taking Malik Neighbors instead. Now they have Dart, and the Vikings have J.J. McCarthy.
I think Breer had a thing recently about how big an offer the Patriots turned down to stay at 3 and take Drake May.
Yeah. It's a huge decision. The same way the Bears traded out from the Bryce Young pick, when it could have been Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, and it set up Caleb Williams and seeing how that's playing out, right?
The way there's this, there's still a pretty terrible hit rate at the top of the draft for even quarterbacks that people think are, that everyone agrees are really, really good and talented. Part of this might be, I think there's some analytics studies that have sort of effectively borne this out. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's catch-22. There's no actual correct answer to this because you can take the quarterback and you upgrade the talent and you get a guy who's now capable of this type of play. Let's say the Darnold thing. Darnold is a great example right now. Apparently, Darnold is capable of all pro-level NFL play for multiple seasons. However, unless the situation around him is pretty good, he's also capable of looking like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, right? And if you're sitting there with a top 3 pick, you can only do one of them. You can only get the quarterback or upgrade the situation around him. You can't do both at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're in this weird world where there's no correct answer because if you suck enough to be picking at the top of the draft, you're almost certainly not capable of putting the environment around the quarterback that enables him to succeed within the next year or two, right? And if you just try and upgrade the situation, well, then you pass up the opportunity of getting the quarterback and you may never see that guy again. So this is why actually picking at the top of the draft, these guys, no matter how many shots at the quarterback you take, you might not find the guy because you never fix the situation in time. And by the time you fix the situation, you don't have a shot at the quarterback.
And so New England in particular said, we're taking the quarterback.
What is that called?
They drafted horribly around him, by the way.
Yeah.
Jalen Polk and that whole draft. And then fixed it a year later, between free agency and everything. That's another story. All of the teams that had a first contract quarterback, the Panthers, Patriots, Bears, Commanders, a lot of Vikings, a lot of those teams spent a ton this offseason. The Vikings were big players in free agency. The Patriots were. And the Patriots might be getting the best return on the Carlton Davises of the world, the Milton Williams of the world, plus their draft picks. And that's why they're at 6-2.
Analytics has a term for what I just described, and I can't remember what it is. It's something paradox. I think it might have been one of those.
Which is like the quarterback or the situation?
No, the fact that even though you think you should be making out well by picking in the top 5 picks and getting the theoretical star of the draft every year, like those teams don't succeed. Like it makes them worse.
Yeah, but it might not even be analytics. It might just be ownership.
But I think a big part of it is the fact that usually those top 5 picks involve quarterbacks. Certainly the majority.
Yeah, and the hit rate's immediately lower because the expectations are higher.
Well, it's lower not just because the expectations are higher, but because invariably those teams are terrible. And unlike a defensive lineman can succeed immediately regardless of the situation around him, right? Myles Garrett can come in and look like one of the best defensive players in the game, and it doesn't matter that everything around him is a shit show. Myles Garrett is still awesome, right? The quarterback can't. If everything around the quarterback sucks, the quarterback is almost certain going to look terrible. And then if he's terrible, you might not get to the fact, might not get to the situation where the stuff around him is good and you can see that he's great. You might have to go, well, that guy wasn't the guy. We'll find the next guy. And you just get stuck in this world where everything's terrible.
Well, then the other piece that happens is you go, let's take the bridge quarterback. And then you become the Colts, where you have a million bridge quarterbacks hoping that they're the guy.
Which may or may not work.
But then you're always picking 15. Like the Colts have picked 15 for 12 straight years.
So that's the problem, right?
Don't fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure the Colts always pick 15th.
Well, that's where the Vikings were for years. That's the issue, is that it's only the teams that are sufficiently bad that pick at the top of the draft and get to this situation where you get the talented quarterbacks and you try and upgrade in a certain. Whenever your situation is good enough, you don't pick those guys. So that's why I think there's real value to teams that might not have a guy loading up with 2 first-round picks in a future year. Like the thing the Eagles did, the thing the Browns have done. If you're not sure whether your quarterback is elite, try and put yourself in a position where in any given year you can offer the kind of crazy trade to somebody where you can go up and get the number 1 quarterback in the draft, because suddenly you might have a situation good enough where that guy can step in and immediately look like a superstar. That's my team building strategy now.
Just build the situation.
Become good. Become a good roster overall, right?
Load up on the roster before the QB.
Get a good roster and then spend my entire time trying to ensure that I have 2 first-round picks in the upcoming draft every year.
I mean, I think it's harder to do the way teams trade, but right now the Browns and Rams have 2 first-rounders next year.
Right.
The way the Eagles did that 3-year stretch where the Eagles, once you get the second first-rounder, and they stole one from the Saints, they just stole picks from the Saints that year. Call Mickey. That's how you do it. If you could just always have 2 and then always have 2 and just keep rotating, and that's why the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
The smartest thing they did.
Honestly, because they had all those extra first-rounders so they could get A.J. Brown. Like, there's one for A.J. Brown. Why not? We have plenty of them.
The smartest thing they did was hedge with Jalen Hurts, was not immediately decide that Jalen Hurts is the guy. They hedged that year and they flipped.
That's what it was, though.
100% was.
Just because teams have extra first doesn't mean they're thinking, well, we need another quarterback.
Nobody was convinced that Jalen Hurts was the guy at that point.
It doesn't matter, though. I don't think that's why they got the first-round picks.
Absolutely was why they did it. They had a quarterback.
Because having multiple first-round picks is smart.
They had a quarterback that may or may not have been the guy. And they knew that this was a good enough team that if he wasn't the guy, they had no shot at drafting the next one. Carson Wentz had already bombed his way out at that point. It was Hurts or nothing. And if it's nothing, we need a way of being higher up the draft than we're going to be. I think that absolutely was a hedge.
Either way, that's what I would try to do. Is you get that second first rounder, and then continue to manipulate it. So you got to get as many top 50 picks as you can, and keep loading up on those.
Welcome to Emil, who's a new super fan, latest member of the PFF. God damn it! Latest member of the Check the Mic. Look, it's been 15 years. There are things lodged in the brain that don't come out easily.
Oh man!
Latest member of the Check the Mic.
Did you have your IM8 today?
Super fans.
For clarity,
that's the problem.
I'll try this for tomorrow.
That's the problem.
Chug some for tomorrow before the show, and I guarantee you will not break down the Broncos.
I think, you know what,
you will not break down the Broncos run game during the Giants game or whatever.
That's a good picture right there. Look.
Right there.
You
can't endorse it though because you're misremembering
too
things.
Stupid to. I think there's probably quite a lot of
Emil, check the mic.
plaque lodged in the brain that's probably just there permanently now. Like if, the CTE thing where you can't really diagnose it until after the fact. I was sitting there the other day and my thumb randomly started like twitching like this, right? So obviously you Google the symptoms expecting to see cancer or whatever in there. And it's like, here's 10 reasons your thumb might be twitching. And it's like too much caffeine, repetitive strain injury, you've heard it, like all the normal things, right? And then right at the end, Parkinson's. You're like, so
no,
either
it's just random. It's just random. Things twitch.
So
That's
it's
what
like
happens.
either, there's 9 normal reasons this thumb could be twitching, or this is the first sign of Parkinson's is about to onset because of my addled brain. I mean, if you start stacking that up between talking about the wrong team in a game, the Parkinson's thumb, not being able to remember we don't work at PFF anymore, like these are all, the brain is in decline, is what I'm saying.
I've been missing names the last couple of years.
It's just, there's clearly just this.
I like to think there's just too much information.
It's just
out
this
there.
sludge in the brain that it makes it operate in a way that it didn't used to.
We're working on dial-up. We're moving back toward dial-up.
It's not that. No, it's not dial-up. It's not that it's slow. I mean, dial-up was basically the same. It just didn't function as fast. This isn't dial-up. This is like, it's just fuzzier than.
The show better take off before you lose it.
Yeah. Or maybe that becomes an endearing thing, right? Like Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, you become Terry or
right.
Lee.
I'll be having these whole rants about something random, and you'll have the Michael Strahan face, like, what the hell is he?
There was a guy trying to sell me a pig. This is the pig salesman. Oh, I accidentally texted the pig guy.
That was a hilarious video for both reactions. You had he initially goes, yeah, I thought it was Andy Reid. It turns out it was a guy selling a pig, and Howie Long sitting beside him was like.
Then he hit that realization,
But Howie's I
shouldn't have said all those things on TV.
Howie's initial reaction of like, what? Didn't expect it to go there, and then Strahan sitting there like the entire conversation, just like, what? What is he saying? Great television. Not so much for Terry, but for everyone else.
They've been going at it about 30 years now on Fox.
Yeah.
NFL was, I don't know if it was always well received, but NFL on Fox in 1994 when it took over, it was innovative. They tried a lot of stuff.
I'm just saying, there's still a world here for us, with me sitting here with a completely addled brain ranting about God knows what. It's still entertaining, potentially.
Terry walked so you could run.
Right. We're not necessarily off the air just because I've lost my mind, is what I'm saying.
Good to know. Check the mic. Check the mic, Sam, is the show, part of the 33rd Team Network. We'll be here forever.
Not BFF.
We'll be here. Is that it for us today?
God, I hope
I think we gotta save you for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who's your MVP? We ran out of time. Is that it?
Sure.
It's your midseason update. Let us know. What's your biggest midseason story?
We were supposed to remind people about memberships. We didn't even need to because Emil signed up. So we have a new member.
Emil signed up for memberships.
Reminded people. And then I lost my mind.
Just get in. We'll have something. We're already talking about Super Bowl specials and membership-only deals, draft season. There'll be plenty of great stuff. So sign up. Sign up for the memberships. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, JJ points out that the ratings and the memberships and stuff may even go up the more crazy I get.
That's true.
The more my mind descends into just madness.
It'll
be must-watch TV. Let's tune in to see what the crazy guy's saying now.
We should do a show because we both live in the 90s. We just randomly, we're like Jags versus Lions, and you're like, man, Barry Sanders having a great season, and I'm like, yeah, Fred Taylor, and we just start talking like the wrong year. See who catches on.
I think that's at least logical enough that people could follow it. It needs to be like, Lions, Jags, and I just start talking about Adrian Peterson. It was, what? It needs to be completely insane where you can't even
Wasn't he
follow.
a Lions legend? Wasn't he on the Lions?
Yeah, probably, actually. It needs to be a thing where you can't even follow where the insanity's taking you.
Yeah.
Like Terry.
Tune in tomorrow.
Nobody saw that coming.
No.
Nobody.
Just you and Terry losing it on TV in the same week. It's great. Yeah. All right, that's it for us today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Week 9 NFL preview.